This was designed to make sure you follow up with every lead,
Mhm.
you're giving every estimate attention, you're able to cross-sell your current customer base, you're able to reconnect with past customers or old leads, all in one simple, easy.
All right, guys, we are back with another interview today. We're hitting them like rapid fire. Feels like all of a sudden. The other day we had Chris Moreschi, CEO of GorillaDesk, on. Today we got his brother Chad on. First and foremost, just welcome Chad to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh yeah,
Looking forward to it.
definitely. Yeah. And I know we're gonna get into a lot today. We're gonna dive in, of course, to some of those GorillaDesk growth features that a lot of people aren't utilizing enough. I know I don't even have a lot of content on my channel, just diving into some of it. Specifically the SmartViews, utilizing that to either stay on top of following up with leads, or even, what I like to refer to as like retarget marketing, where maybe somebody had a one-time service a while back and, we want to send them a text message, but we don't want to go through and send text to 50 different people one by one. We can set up filters with SmartViews and things of that nature, blast it all once, and, just kind of take everything from there. So,
Yeah, the growth features are super powerful. I mean, they're called growth features because they were engineered to help you guys really start to grow and scale, right? When you get too busy, it's too difficult to do the index card thing. So, and every lead matters. Every lead needs to be nurtured. Every estimate needs to be followed up with. And as you grow, it just gets more and more difficult. And the growth features organize it all and make it simple so that nothing falls through the cracks. So yeah, it'd be great to show the people what that's all about and the strategies that you can put in place in your business to leverage these tools to make an actual impact on revenue and stuff. So it's cool.
oh yeah, exactly. I mean, a prime example of this is I didn't realize that my admin had sent one out. We were setting it up actually to go out on what is it? One of those third-party platforms. I always forget there's so many of them. But sending an email campaign out, and then she actually sent it through the GorillaDesk SMS, and then it was a mosquito. Just again, like you said, nurturing. We were just sending out a blog that we had published recently, just kind of, hey, mosquitoes are bad in DFW this year because of all the rain that we've had. It's been like Florida over here instead of like Texas, and what we're doing about it. And sure enough, we've had like 4 people reach out. We plugged the YouTube video in that as well to our pest control, our actual preferred pest management channel. Got followers over there for it too. And I was like, starting to question even. I was like, and I think I mentioned this with your brother the other day. I was like, we almost don't even need those applications anymore.
Yeah, that's the whole point. Is my brother's trying to bring as much in-house as possible that makes sense. Ideally, the owners are operating their entire business through GorillaDesk, and they don't have to go anywhere else. They shouldn't be on any other screens, right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, it's already gotten, like I tell everybody, just over the last, I would say 2 years specifically. I mean, you all were already going at a steady pace, adding features on features on features, and it seems like the last 2 years it's just exploded in terms of what's going on now. So
Yeah.
it's awesome.
GorillaDesk has a ton of momentum right now. My brother's been working in the shadows for a while, just focused heavily on product development. Now we have a product that's superior and we want everyone to know. So it's about getting the word out and showing people like how and why we are better.
Exactly.
It's just that simple.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know he even tends to be pretty humble about it in terms of competition and stuff. But like anytime, I mean, I had somebody, it seemed like as soon as the podcast with him went live, somebody from a competitor, you could tell, they send their mafia, it seems, sometimes on comments and stuff. And I'm like, look, he'll be humble about it. I was like, I'm not an employee or anything of them. So like, I'll just tell you straight up from my experience. I'm like, your platform sucks. Like, sorry, it is what it is. Like,
It's going to be really hard for the competition to keep up. My brother's been doing a really good job at staying ahead of the tech And
Right.
it's making sure that GorillaDesk is primed for the future because things are moving so extremely fast right now.
Oh my god.
And he's ready. And, fortunately for him, the competition, they've sold out to big investment companies and the development side lacks. You guys talked about that on the podcast. And that's true. And support also lacks because all they care about then is increasing prices and squeezing as much as they can out from their current customer base and charging a lot to the new people and locking you in for a long time. And, GorillaDesk is like the complete opposite. I was joking with my brother. I consider him like the Robin Hood of the CRM space where, he's put a ton of work into build as much value into the program as possible. And he
Right.
hasn't raised prices
Yes.
since like almost the very beginning.
Right.
And
Yeah, we even talked about that briefly the other day, just because for some reason, even I thought that there was some type of change or increase recently, and he was like, "No, no, no, like, we haven't."
we added the growth plan because we
Right.
had a bunch of very robust features that were,
Mhm,
higher level things. And, we
mhm.
have other little add-ons, but, when you sign up for the plans, the pricing has been the same. Pricing's been
Right.
the same.
That's why I tell everybody, like, anytime I see you all run any type of deal on the growth plan, which is, of course, rightfully so, very far and few in between, because even when it's not on sale, it's still a good price when you break it down again to a lot of the who else are you gonna go to that has these features, and especially at this price, and with the customer support and on and on and on. Um, if you find any type of deal, like, you better hop on it because, like Chris mentions a lot of times, if any of those deals happen, like, you'll be kinda grandfathered in to a large degree, as much
Yeah.
as possible, of course.
Price justification has always been an interesting thing because if you use the tool as it's intended to, it's designed to make you money. So when you're considering cost, it's important to consider cost as an operator, especially when you're, just starting out and every penny matters, right? But if you use the features that are in GorillaDesk as they're intended to, then they're designed to make you money, right? And what ends up happening is, we'll onboard customers and they'll get set up and they'll get busy and they'll get to work and they'll stop learning the software. So I have calls all the time with people who are basic, pro and growth, not using everything that they have access to, and they're doing themselves a disservice. And you can get the software to pay for itself.
Right.
Right? You can make it essentially free if you use it right. So my goal really is to try to just make sure we're educating everyone to understand, why we built the tools that we built, what they're for, and like I said, like the strategies in business that you use these tools to execute with.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's how I broke it down, because a lot of people know that my first technician I hired, he actually owned his own pest control business in the Midwest, used GorillaDesk as well. I got him on you all. He started his business roughly 3 or 4 months after me up there, and when he moved down here was right when actually you all had just, I think, were finishing up the deal on the growth plan, because it was around holidays, if I remember right, sometime roughly 6 months ago or so, and I was like, I got no questions. I was like, I think at the time it was only gonna be roughly a $50-$60 with that deal per month difference versus the pro plan, and even like you said, at, what is it, about $150 month difference, isn't it, like, I forget, is it 250?
There's our pricing broken down, and it's very simple to understand, right?
Exactly.
We price based on how many schedules need to be managed.
That's right,
So
that's what it is.
you just scroll and, you can see what you're going to pay and you can
Right.
change this whenever you want. So
Exactly.
you're not bound to a contract. If you want to upgrade, you literally just click a button
Mhm.
and, you know, you start on the new plan. If you
Exactly.
realize that maybe you're not going to use all the features yet, you kind of jump the gun, you can go back, right?
Exactly.
But there's
Exactly.
people that
A
upgrade
lot
at
of
least
people don't think about that.
yeah, we make it really easy, right? Like we understand that there's a lot going on and software to a lot of people is overwhelming because they're not that tech savvy. It's uncomfortable. They don't want to take the time to sit and learn and have a difficult time.
Mhm.
But because my brother is, a design guru, it's very intuitive if you just can sit down and make the time. to practice with it a little bit.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah,
right,
no,
what's your
that's what I
experience
was
with
trying
it,
to.
right?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna say all that because 'cause I'm biased, right? But I believe that that's true. It is very simple for a lot of people to use. When I've trained I own a pest control company too, and I trained my staff on it, and it takes no time at all. I hired a virtual assistant when SmartViews came out to help me get through my call list, and she had GorillaDesk down in 2 days because all she had to do was watch the video content, and as she watched the video content, she practiced along, and she knew exactly what to do.
Well, and like me and Chris hit on just very briefly, which sounds like before long, probably within the next maybe year or less, at the pace AI is moving and everything. Um, we went in and created a custom GPT and ChatGPT that pretty much scraped all of the information from all those articles and even the videos and this and that, to where if our assistants or even techs, whatever the case may be, if they get stuck in the platform and they just need that quick response, like they don't want to have to like go in to support, even though support's great and everything. Like if you just want, like, it's a quick, like, hey, what do I need to do here again? They can just go in, type it in, and boom, answers right there. Because like you said, you all have done such a good job on any time anything's being added, going in and documenting, pretty much like you're documenting SOPs of GorillaDesk, how the platform works, every little nuance to it.
Yeah, and my brother mentioned before, I mean, if the viewers if you guys haven't watched the video with my brother, go back and watch it so you can learn about, like, everything that's really coming, where my brother's big vision is, but essentially, like, he's gonna bake AI into the whole thing, right? You're gonna be able to tell it to do things for you, and it's gonna be able to execute. You're gonna be able to ask it for advice, and it's gonna give it to you based on the data that is in GorillaDesk. So the future for GorillaDesk is, I mean, we would have never thought, right? Like, I asked my brother, when you started GorillaDesk, he told you he has development mapped out for like the next 5 to 10 years. He's done that since the beginning. He's mapped out his whole process, his big vision. And, you know, a couple of years ago, he had to fit in AI like unexpectedly and then build a whole team around it. And then it turned into like, man, like this really is the future. If we're not on it, we're gonna get left in the dust, and all those competition's lacking there, and he's gonna build some crazy stuff. Like, he dropped some bombs on that podcast.
Oh my
I'm surprised he shared it all with you because,
gosh.
I and it you know what? It shows that he doesn't feel threatened. No,
Oh, 100%.
he's, like, so far ahead on the tech side.
Yeah.
So and that's what you get when you sign up with GorillaDesk. You get to work with a company that's owned by someone who is so passionate about building the best product for you because he's been you. He's been out in the field. We've been out in the field. We worked out in the field with my dad growing up. Like, we understand, right? And it makes us feel great knowing that we make a product that's helping you guys, making your lives easier, help you achieve the goals that you have set out for you and your family and your future. And we have a lot of pride in that. And that's, we're not as numbers driven as all the competition because we haven't been bought. And my brother has no plan to, he's a builder. He wants to build and he still has a lot to build. So he's going to be at it, and he's comfortable and he's super modest, you know, but he's dangerous. He's
Right.
dangerous behind the computer, man. He's dangerous.
Right. No, yeah, it's insane. Just like you said, if anyone hasn't seen that, I definitely suggest, like,
Yeah, go watch it.
this is kind of the more technical version, getting into the optics of how to use the platform. The one with him, like you said, is kind of course, the origin and all of that, but more importantly, like, looking forward, where are we going? What's kind of the plan? Like you said, he put a lot of it out there, and that was the goal going in. I even told him, I was like, the goal is like even some clarity for me, like, because I have a lot of third party softwares that I utilize, because there's certain things that it's just going to take a while, if ever, for some of them to be implemented, like marketing tracking and some of this other stuff. But
Which is why there's the open API, right?
right,
So and that's in
exactly.
place for that until we build everything, and then you won't need to integrate, right? My brother even said that. He's like, eventually you're just gonna need GorillaDesk, and that's it. So
Exactly.
he's just gonna
And
keep
that's
adding value. He's gonna
and
keep
that's
adding
what
value, and it's not
people
gonna stop.
that's what I keep trying to explain to the audience too, is that no, it's not just GorillaDesk. Whenever I do talk about stuff that I would like to see happen someday, like, at least with GorillaDesk, you know that, hey, yeah, like, we're already thinking about this. Like he said, even though some of it's years down the road, we're already thinking about it, figuring out what the steps are gonna be, all this. Where you go to all these other platforms, it just is what it is. Like, this is what the platform is. Some of them don't even have open API available where you can try to go in and figure it, quote unquote, "figure it out yourself," or connect it with, Zapier, tools like that, Make, whatever the case may be. But GorillaDesk, like, you all try to at least give the option of, "Hey, we don't necessarily have this in place yet in very few cases at this point, but here's the API. Here are ways that you can use it even in terms of the documentation of all."
Here's a place to request the feature too, right? Like,
Exactly, yeah, the request a feature. Oh, 100%. Not enough
and that's
people
listened
utilize it.
to, and it's heard. It's not just a button to make you feel like,
Right.
okay, now they know, but all that data is compiled and the team looks at it, they rank it based on volume, and then they see how fast they can expedite stuff. And depending on, if everyone can use it, it's gonna probably be at the top of the list. If it's something that's a little custom just to you, it might not happen, unless it's like an enterprise thing or something. But yeah, brother's building. Brother is building.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like, even me, I know, the only thing that I notice, like, in terms of my day to day is the Google Calendar integration, for example. Um, how we can and who knows, maybe I might even find out today that it's just a way that I'm doing it wrong, possibly, where I want to, of course, you have the integration with GorillaDesk to Google Calendar, but I notice, that you can't integrate, I guess, in the opposite direction, if that makes sense, like, from the Google
Google
Calendar.
Calendar with GorillaDesk.
Exactly. So, like, sometimes say we have, like, a meeting or this podcast, for example, if I want it to be on both, I have to go in and add it, at least as of now, I notice, as a job, like a custom job or something,
You can add
not
an event.
okay, and
So,
maybe that might be
and
something
what
that
I
you
do
wanna
is
walk through because I
I
tried
use
doing the custom event, I believe, and it wasn't for some reason going through on there. So that was why I
I use
started doing the
GorillaDesk.
actual jobs.
Yeah, I was using GorillaDesk kind of like as my personal calendar for a while.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was marking things that, like, for example, we had a team meeting,
Mhm.
right? So this is a custom event,
Exactly.
and you can create custom events that don't need a work order attached to them. It's just a block of time that you need to know about.
Mhm.
So we use that function. Like, we had a monthly team meeting. This is stuff for, you know, the team to know that doesn't need to be processed for payment and all that.
Right,
And
exactly.
you can color code and make different ones.
Right. And the only issue that I had with the custom events is, and again, I don't know if it's maybe something I was doing wrong or if it's a Zapier issue, whatever the case may be, but whenever you add the custom event, the jobs will sync over to your Google Calendar, but the custom events for some reason were not syncing over to the Google Calendar, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not really sure because I never sync it to my old
Oh, okay.
calendar.
Okay. Yeah, and the only that, like I said, I know that's even something when you're talking about just like those little things. Like, I know I'm probably like one of one or one of very
Well,
few.
some people do, because some people that are in like rural areas where,
Mhm.
they don't have internet access, we encourage that you do that because sometimes you go offline,
Right, right.
and we have an offline mode, but still, like, it's nice to have another barrier of protection when you're out in the field and your device goes
Exactly.
down.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that too. Yeah, yeah, no, and that's where at the minimum it's super nice in terms of the jobs, like how that is seamless. That is, I noticed as soon as and that was kind of the workaround that I did in the meantime was I have some custom jobs like uh I label my meetings as usually like one-on-ones or team meet, something like that, like a custom job with no invoice attached to it. things like that. We're already getting into some technical stuff, and I guess let's dive into some of those growth plan features. As a matter of fact, like, do you want to start with SmartViews, or do you want to start with kind of the lead funnel process? I guess.
We'll start with SmartViews because it ties into it, right? So I'm in my SmartViews now, and if you are a GorillaDesk user, you can go to your add-ons and scroll down. It's in alphabetical order. Go to SmartViews, have it turned on, and you can manage permissions here. But once this is turned on, you go to your inbox and you'll have SmartViews here on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
And SmartViews is a tool that we built to help you create custom lists.
Right.
Great. What do we do with that? You can do all sorts of things, right? You can use it to create lists just to show you a specific group of customers for marketing. You can create a list to show you leads. So I have a list here that's just new leads. And when you create a new SmartViews, it populates all of your customer data until you start adding filters. Once you start adding filters, it applies the filters and it narrows it down to exactly what you want to see. And the filters are kind of robust and we'll go through it. But this list right here just shows me customers with a status that's a new lead that have been created within the last 7 days. It's all my really hot stuff, right? And so then I did something kind of interesting, and my brother gave me the idea, but I created a 5-day follow-up cadence using call volume as a variable. So these are all the leads that have come in today that haven't received a phone call. There's none because we do a good job, right? We don't miss any. That's the whole point, right? Is to not miss anything anymore ever.
Exactly.
So once we call you, you've received one call, right? So the next list has a parameter around having 2 calls, and then 3 calls and 4 calls and 5 calls. And that's how we work them through a 5-day follow-up. So once we call you today, you're automatically moved to the next list. People ask, do I have to drag and drop or do I have to move people? No. Once they no longer fit the filter parameters on this list, they will fit the ones that they fit, right? Exactly. So you can customize them. So that's my 3-day follow-up. I have another one just show me bigger picture, all of the leads from the last 30 days. We do a pretty good job of converting. Every time, once a customer has a job assigned to their account, they're automatically switched to an active customer, right? So you don't even have to worry about moving people off lists. It just happens.
Right.
They either fit the parameters or they don't.
Exactly.
So that's one way, just lead follow-up, right? And it's something that is neglected, I feel like, in a lot of businesses. The ones that I talk to, one question I ask is, when a lead comes into your office, what do you do with it?
Right. What are your response times?
And then they'll tell me, and it's not thorough. Or they forget, or they write them down, or they set reminders for themselves. And you know, it like things, and you have leads coming in at you from all different directions, right? So every time a lead comes in, you should be putting it into GorillaDesk because now you have that data captured and you create an account, right? Whether they buy from you right now or not, you want to be able to target them later. So, and that was something you mentioned earlier, right? So I have lists here from all of the leads that we've gotten in 2024, 2023, 2022, 448 people in here called us. We got their information somehow, but they didn't buy anything, right? Whereas the number of completed jobs is less than 1, which means it's 0. We didn't complete any jobs, and the date that we created this account was during that year. And now I can retarget all these people. If you do a really bad job and convert 2%, that's still extra 2%, right? If you do a really good job and you can convert a lot more, like 10, 15, then like
money pressure.
You wouldn't have it otherwise, right?
Exactly.
Another strategy is cross-selling. You brought that up earlier too. Like, imagine if you can find a list of all of the customers that are buying one particular service and they qualify for, being upsold another one.
Pretty much all your GPC customers.
GPC to mosquito, termite treatments to bait stations, wildlife guys, bait boxes would be an add-on. Anything that you can think of to cross-sell your customer. And most companies offer more than one service and in another space too. So this is great too. Like if you're a seasonal company and your company changes in the wintertime to snow blowing or hanging lights or something else, then you can target all of your current customers from your warm month business, pest control, lawn care, window washing, whatever, and say, "Hey, we also offer this. Are you interested?" And now that customer goes from spending, on average, the industry standard just for general pests is 600 to 800 bucks a year with you. And now you're selling them plowing in the winter, and you could possibly be doubling their annual average spend with you. Right. And that's a way out of a lot of people who are stuck with growth because it's neglected by almost everybody. People are very, very focused on acquiring new customers when they're growing, that they forget that their current customers, there's still potential there. There's still money to be made off those people. And you'd be surprised at how many of your customers just don't know everything that you do.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, think of just the numerous times that you roll up on an account and you see a mosquito only company sign in the yard or something like that, and you're there for a general pest control. Like, there's nothing more frustrating than that. And then a lot of times when you bring it up, they're like, "Oh man, well, like I had no idea. And now I'm in this seasonal contract with this mosquito company, and maybe next year." And then, like you said, even if maybe next year is legitimate, are you gonna remember to do the follow-up? Well, if you have the SmartView, you can even create your own maybe next year SmartView. Like you said, there's really no limit to these filters at the end of the day. And another thing, going back to the whole conversion rate of it, say it is 2 to 5%. For us, for example, I think our inactive list right now, if you take it across the entire company, regardless of when either if they were a customer or weren't a customer, whatever the case may be, somewhere around maybe 800, 800 right now. So say even a smaller, very, very small, like one man show who's like on the edge, on the fence in terms of growth plan versus basic, one of the more basic plans. And, it's roughly $50 a month difference. All you have to think about is, hey, if I set up or even just a couple of these smart views and I have, say, 50 or even 100 to 150, whatever the case may be, lower number, just work out the math in terms of if I only convert 2 to 5%, what's it going to be in terms of my net income added to my business?
Yeah.
And does that
It's a great
cover that
point.
small upgrade to the growth plan too? That's
Great
something
point.
that, man, if I'm you all, I'm like banging that over the head, which I think you
Yeah.
specifically, hit that a lot in terms of, the conversion and how it literally and Chris mentioned it even the other day as well on the podcast, that one conversion is all it really takes to not just pay for that plan, but you're now in the green on that investment.
Yeah.
So, and that's before getting into what looks like we're about to get into now with, following the lead journey.
Yeah, well, I wanna touch really quick. You were mentioning, like, doing hypothetical calculations in the business to say, like, "If we do this, then we can expect this." And so many people don't do that. So many people are uncomfortable with numbers. It's one of the 2, like, biggest errors I'm seeing a lot of owners make.
Right.
One is they're not very comfortable with their numbers. They don't pay attention to them close enough. Like looking at a P&L weekly would be like what I'm talking about, which is what I feel like everyone should be doing at minimum monthly because it's your report card.
Yep.
And I wasn't shocked, but I was concerned when I learned after doing tons of calls that a lot of people don't even have a P&L updated. Some don't even have a P&L at all. And that's tough. And I understand it and I get it because I I always had a P&L, but I never dealt with it because I made sure that someone capable was there to do it because it's not my wheelhouse, but I also understood how important it was. So I made sure it happened. So even if it's not your strength, it's something you're really intimidated by, but it's something that absolutely has to get done, find a way. And the numbers is by far probably the most important thing in your business. You need to know if you're healthy, and your P&L is your report card. Or is it
100%.
tells you every single month, how well you're doing. If your profit's where you want to be, you get an A.
Exactly.
If it's in the red, you're failing, right? You're literally failing. You're getting an F, and if you can't fix it, you're in trouble.
Exactly. And I mention on my channel all the time how I compare it is literally it's apples to apples comparison of, your own personal budget. Like I tell people all the time, which gets into a whole nother subject of are you in the position to even start a business? Like you got to be serious about your financial well-being. I tell people if you are not paying attention to your personal funds and don't have that in order, do not start a business because
Yeah.
it's not just going to wreck your business, it's going to wreck your personal as well. So, get that.
There's a way
You've
though
been
for everybody, right? Like anyone can, right?
exactly.
Not everyone's strategy is going to be the same.
Right.
And it's all going to depend on what you're capable of doing, what you can physically and mentally do and financially do.
Exactly.
So that's why like understanding the numbers is important, most
Exactly.
important. And then the second thing, I don't know if I said it, but is having a goal. You'd be shocked at how many people don't know what that end game looks like. They get to work and they're just like, I'm going to build this business and I'm going to grow it. And because that's so vague, you end up working for a really long time. The saddest calls I have are with the guys that have been doing it for like 30 years, 25, 30 years, and they want to slow down and hang out with the grandkids or just relax more, but they didn't build the business in a way for that to happen.
Right.
Right. And and businesses can be designed custom for your lifestyle. So the goal should be, what do I want my life to look like in 10 years, in 15 years, in 20 years?
Exactly.
And get down to the nitty gritty because that life has a number. It has a cost, has a value, right? So if your life costs you X amount of dollars, you're ideal. Be ideal because you can build anything with this. If you have a service business, you can build it to accomplish whatever you want. Oh, as long as you know what you want and you have a good strategy. But if your life costs you this, then it just becomes math. I need to bring on this many customers that spend this much money, and then I'll be making this much, which is my goal. And then you win, right? Then you get to reap the benefits of whatever you have designed for yourself.
Exactly.
And so many people fail there. And if you can do it early, right? And you can say, you know what, my ideal lifestyle only requires my business to make $2 million a year. Then
Exactly.
everything becomes like, you can see it. It's there, like 2 million. I'm at 125 right now. I
Mhm.
should go be at 250. And if you keep at it and keep focused on that, you can get
You
there.
can see the end of the race. Exactly.
Yeah. Or you can take your time and get there. It doesn't matter. It's up to you, right? It's your journey. But if you know that you can get there and it's just a matter of time and how much you're willing to suffer,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
If you don't mind suffering a lot, you can get there really fast. If you want to take your time, cool.
Right.
But you'll get there and you'll be like, yeah, now what? Kind
Exactly.
of what happened to me. It happened to me. I was like, my brother went off to build GorillaDesk and he left the pest control company to me.
Mhm.
And I jumped into the pest control company to support my brother and the family. And when my brother left, I was like,
Right.
all right, what do I do? Right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, it's mine now. Great. I was at the tech for a long time.
Right.
My mom had gotten sick for a while. So for a whole year, I was just like, I had blinders on, just grinding. She got better. And then I'm like, okay, like, let me look at this business again. What's going on? And I had to decide, what do I want now? Because it's up to me. No one's going to make it what it needs to be because it's mine now. I have full responsibility and then I had autonomy.
Oh,
So I decided I wanted to build a lifestyle business that looked like me making X amount of money to support my lifestyle, support my parents who live next door to me, like be able to pay their bills, have employees that didn't want to leave, and I had all of my free time.
right. Exactly.
And I calculated it. I said it'll cost me this much. I have
Mhm.
to build the business to here to give me this amount of profit. and I have it, and that's what happened, and then it happened, and I was like, and I didn't know what to do with my time, like, I didn't plan, so I planned for the business goal, right? But then I didn't plan for, like, the after part,
Right.
and
And that's
now
where a lot
I'm
of
thinking.
people too get stuck too. That's not talked about enough. It's starting to a little bit because you're seeing a bunch of, regardless of the industry, just a lot of quote unquote successful in terms of financial success, at least people, starting to post all over the internet now. It seems like everybody is. And that's one thing that's starting to be shined a light on a lot is like that's where a lot of people struggle, athletes, like we said, the rich, quote unquote, is like once you get to the end of said journey, you have to evolve into something
Yeah.
new, regardless if it's a new business or a new, like just something. Otherwise, you start rolling down this negative spiral that even me and your brother hit on, I think, briefly the other day. And
Yeah. Well,
it's not
because for a lot of
something you want.
people, the journey becomes part of their identity because it's so consuming, and once you take that away, you feel lost if you don't have something right away that you wanna do, and so then a lot of people don't because they loved what they were doing for so long, and it was who they were, and now they're not doing that anymore, and it's, "Okay, now I need to kinda reinvent myself," and
Exactly.
throughout even your business journey, you reinvent yourself as an owner, like, you're constantly improving, you're constantly changing the way you're thinking. If you're, you know, progressing, right? Like, you
Right.
have to change the way you think when you're a solo tech with just your only route
Oh yeah.
versus the guy that has 2 employees or 5 or 10 or like, it's different. It's different
Mhm.
different animals, right?
100%. Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, one of my, mentors said, because I struggle personally with, you know, enjoying any time off. Like my mind is just always running 1,000 miles an hour. I'm sure if I went to see a shrink or something, they'd diagnose me with 5 different things probably. But, he was like, you got kids, you got this, you got that. Like, just focus on whenever you are all in on the business, be all in on the business. But when you're having kid time, be all in on kid time. Like whatever, because you have, regardless of what they want to call it, it is an obsession to some degree. And you need to take that obsessive energy and just put it into everything, not just one thing. Otherwise, like you said, it can, because someday every journey is going to end, regardless if it's your journey of business, your journey of, raising your kids when they become adults, whatever the case may be, ultimately. Every journey has its conclusion. Whenever you can see the end of that journey, like, don't be in denial about it. Be quick to realize, like, hey, I need to start. If you
Yeah.
know you don't have that much going on, like, there's not much plan, start not necessarily taking your eye off the ball, but at least having that plan in place, because, it's much harder, which I'm sure I think you were even hitting on briefly, like it can be difficult if you wait until, just, oh, wow, like it's here now. Like now what? Like it can take a while to figure out that next stage.
Yeah, it can. But hopefully you get there, right? Because great,
Right.
like, and that's what's kinda funny about it is it should be like this great, really, like, positive, awesome thing, but if you're one of those people that didn't plan for it, it's it's stressful, right? It creates anxiety and, you can be hard on yourself, but you could also be really nice to yourself, right? Like, and I think that all comes down to, like, how you end up speaking to yourself about reaching those goals and where you're at and try to be positive and find the positive in all the things that feel heavy because you did the work to get to where you are, right? Not a lot of people can get through it and you should be proud. And what's really hard when you're a business owner is not really having a lot of people to talk to just in general, right? Just to relate to you and to understand what you're going through. So it's great that we have these Facebook communities and, you know, we have conventions and I'm I try to facilitate like little meetups with the pest control operators around me because we all kind of help each other. I use so and so for bee stuff. I use so and so for termite. I try to be cool with everybody because there's enough work for everyone, right? And I live in my own little bubble. I'm not really concerned about my competition. I've designed and engineered my business to work for me in my life, and my family, and my employees. And that's all I really care about. Right. So as long as that is good, I'm good. So we're still in the inbox where our SmartViews is and our opportunity pipeline is. So
100%.
in the video with my brother, you guys touch on this a bit, but your opportunity pipeline helps you see where everyone is in the sales process. So these automatically generate if you are sending out estimates, but if you don't send out estimates, right? Like if you give someone a quote over the phone that doesn't necessarily have to have an estimate to it, you just go to the customer's account and you can make one on their account. So I have like a test account for me, and underneath tasks on the right side, when you turn on the opportunity pipeline, let's go look at that really quick. You just go to I passed it. Opportunity pipeline. When you turn this on, you want to make sure you also turn on the opportunity generator. That's what enables the system to automatically generate the opportunities when estimates are sent.
Right.
Right. So we'll go back. We're on my practice account, and making an opportunity is this easy. You select what kind of opportunity it is. This one's an active qualified. I like to close all mine in a week. Let's say I'm pretty confident because Susie just needs to talk to her husband about scheduling or something. And the value, we'll say $600. It's a one time. The contact is the customer, and the user is the person responsible for managing this opportunity. And you can leave yourself a little note, follow up with Susie about answer this. Save. It exists here on the customer's account, but it also gets moved to your opportunity pipeline. Here you see it here, and you can drag and drop these. So if you win it, you can go into it and win it, or you can just drag it over.
Exactly.
And now it's won. And that's it. And you can keep focusing on this. And what's cool about this is you can see what is actually in the pipeline revenue wise.
Exactly.
And try to close on this stuff. And even better, which I like to do, is see what I've lost at the moment, because once you lose it doesn't mean you've lost it. Unless you got to make an effort to see what's going on. So what we do is we have a SmartView for lost opportunities where we manage all those, and we'll call all these people and touch base with them and just find out what's up. Was the price too high? Do I need to offer a discount? Was it not the right time? Did they find another provider? Whatever it is, I want information so I can update the account and I can keep moving forward.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
So, the opportunity pipeline is awesome. And a lot of people are using third-party tools and plugging them into GorillaDesk, and it's getting kind of clunky, right? You have stuff over here that needs to get moved over here. You're managing it all over here, and then you're checking GorillaDesk to make sure that it's getting updated, or that it just feels like you're in two different worlds.
100%.
Here, it's all in one world. And if you have VoIP, working through SmartViews list is awesome because you can have it auto dial through the whole list. And what's even cooler is you can pre-record the voicemail. Do you have your voicemails pre-recorded?
No. Well, no, not for like auto dial or anything like that. Just I know we're not on VoIP right now. Me and Chris were actually talking about that briefly.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
if you're on VoIP and you had a dedicated salesperson that's just on the phone all day and they have to go through really long lists,
Right.
to make it really efficient for them, it's horrible to have to repeat the same voicemail over and over again if you're making the same effort. And that's what you're doing in these lists. You're doing the same thing over and over again. You're reaching out to all these people from 2022. You don't have to say the name in the recording. You can say, "Hey, this is Chad from Natural Resources Pest Control. We were just calling to follow up to see if there's anything you needed regarding pest control for your house," whatever. You pre-record it. When you auto dial, If they don't answer, it will automatically record that voicemail and then start calling the next person for you. So getting through the list is super, it's like hands off
Exactly.
and quick and easy. Most of the people aren't going to answer. That's just the nature of it. But everyone's going to be left a voicemail now. And then you can batch text this list and then, email also. We do all three. We call, voicemail, text, email. Well, four, if they don't answer, leave a voicemail.
Yeah, yeah.
So VoIP makes that really easy for people.
Yeah, and I
And
didn't
then all the
really understand that part of it either. So that's even good to know in the future as well, just because.
and you're calling right through here. So now GorillaDesk has more data for you. There's call volume data, and you can see all of that here. You can see, the number of outbound calls, inbound calls, call duration, average calls. And if you have a sales team, you can see who's working or not just based
Right.
on this data. And this is important data. Then you can get into the nitty gritty of like closing and stuff, but that's all in your opportunity pipeline.
And,
Of all of every potential sale should have this opportunity associated with it. Right.
right.
Everyone. So even the ones you win right away, you create the opportunity, you win it, right? You won, you did a good job. That way you can really keep accurate track of how people are moving through your sales funnel.
Exactly. Yeah, and another thing
So,
too with that sales funnel is, as I noticed, which is important for people to know too, because it might cut out some of the just back and forth between the different tabs, is if you, for example, we just sold a couple termite jobs today that we sent estimates out on same day, and instead of even necessarily going into the actual pipeline itself, if you go into that estimate and you hit create as an invoice, it marks the job, marks the estimate as one, it will move it automatically from that opportunity over to one for you to where you're not having to bounce back and forth. So I thought that was pretty cool because the first time I seen it, I was almost confused. I was like, well, where'd my lead go? And then I looked over in the one category and I was like, oh, it did it for me. Cool. Like I don't have to hop back and forth. So I know like us at this point, even my admin, like she's trained up now to the point where as soon as something sells, just go straight into the estimate, add it as invoice, attach it to the job, which is also very easy to do in the GorillaDesk platform because it'll ask you, do you just want to create an estimate or create an invoice, or do you want to create an invoice attached to a job? Then you just select that option. Boom, does it all right there. And then in the pipeline, it's already moved over for you too.
yep. Yeah, this was designed to make sure you follow up with every lead.
Mhm.
You're giving every estimate attention. You're able to cross sell your current customer base. You're able to reconnect with past customers or old leads all in one simple, easy tool,
Right.
right? Like it doesn't look crazy. Does this look
No.
right? It almost looks like too empty, like what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
It takes work to set it up, right? Like you have to make an effort to go into your SmartViews and build the list.
You almost don't want too big of a list because it's not as targeted.
Yeah. Yeah. Think about what it is you want the list for. What are you trying to accomplish or achieve?
Exactly.
Right. And then build the list to show you who you need to see to do the thing you're trying to do. I want to sell more termite bait stations. Okay. Well, I don't want to market this to people who already have it. So let's exclude them.
Mhm.
Let's definitely include everyone that's on general pests. Let's definitely include everyone that's bought termite from us. Let's get them in a list. Okay, now we can target. Now you build a strategy around how you're going to target these people.
Exactly.
What do the scripts look like? What's your offer going to be? And you deploy it. You don't have to deploy it to everyone right away. You can try it out on a few people, see how it works, and then tweak it and then deploy it once you feel really comfortable. But
Exactly.
this is to help you execute on those things. And a lot of people are either not doing it or using other tools, but it's all right here for you.
Exactly. And I guess too, while we're in the smart views, because you showed us a bunch of them here that you have set up, do you want to just kind of walk them through how you would set up
Oh
like
yeah,
one from scratch? Yeah.
let's go through what all the filters are. So you click this little plus button to create a smart new SmartView. So
Mhm.
call this one test SmartView. You can choose who you want to see this list. You can keep it private, share it with everyone, share with only particular people. Not everyone needs to see every list, right? And you don't want people that don't need to be in lists making a mess of them by accident or something, right? So
Right.
you select your sharing option, you save. Now all of your customers are in here and from your entire CRM. Once you start applying filters, you can narrow down that list. So there are 7 main categories. You have customers, opportunities, tasks, SMS, calls, jobs, estimates. And the customers, you have all of these. So this is where it starts to like really you can get very nitty gritty with what
Right.
you want to pull from here. So customer status is any of or is not. So sometimes when I'm watching people navigate through here, they don't think they want it to happen so quick, and they're so like,
Yeah.
let me just build this list, let me get through this, that they don't really just take the time to relax and just look at everything, right? So look at all your options in the drop downs because some of these drop downs have a lot of options.
Mhm.
For example, date created. Now you have all of these options. You could pick any date. You can make a custom. We have some already in here. If you do custom or is custom date, like you can
Mm.
get in here and pick exactly whatever date you want, right?
Yeah.
Source is any of, and it's going to be dependent on what sources you have in here. So these drop downs, you got to scroll through them and make sure that you're selecting the right stuff. And you don't have to go crazy adding as many filters as you can think of to get it. I
Right.
see that happen a lot with users where they just stay in here forever and they click as many things as they can and then they
Yeah.
apply it and they're like, okay, what's my list look like? You really have to think about what what is most essential to know in order to see what you want to see. If it's a lead, their status is going to be a lead and they would have been created at a certain time. So you really only need 2 things. If it's past customers, you need maybe you want to know that they didn't buy anything. So they
Right.
wouldn't have had any jobs and they were created within a certain time. So try to keep it simple. Try to think about, think about it kind of minimalistically. You can get really crazy with it, but
Oh,
the
yeah.
more filters you add, I see it just becomes redundant and the list doesn't change. You're just adding
Yeah.
filters and
I
your
noticed
data is
that
not
too.
changing,
Right.
right? So, here's all the ones for customers, opportunities. So now that you're creating opportunities in the growth plan, you can create lists to help you manage the opportunities. And this is where you go to,
Which that's a big deal because, like, for example, we sell a lot of packages, we'll call them. Like, we tend to run almost kinda like a subscription model where, you might just have your starter general pet, so you might send them a general pest quote, then you might send them a pest and termite. You might send them a all-in-one for us for pest management, we call it for a protection plan, where it's, like, everything. So, if you're wanting to laser focus it in on, hey, somebody was super interested, like to the point where we sent them 3 or 4 quotes, maybe we want to filter it to like, hey, these people that we have like 3 opportunities with, we want to hit those as soon as possible.
are you using the estimate packages feature?
I have a little bit. Yeah, we've actually used it. It's very like I love it. It just it's very how do I explain it actually? Like, I'm very picky with when I use it, I guess, let's put it that way. But no, I have utilized it, and, I do actually like and we can get into that too in a minute once we finish this part up about, all these different filters. Because yeah, I did like how, I the first time I ever used it, it worked out perfectly because the customer signed off on the job and everything, but she didn't sign off on everything. So it was cool to see how it works whenever like they select like, okay, I want this option, but not this. And that definitely cuts down on a lot of that redundancy in terms of the work of sending out, say, 3 or 4 estimates in some cases.
Yeah, the estimate packages were built for the businesses that sell like different tiers. So
Exactly.
the bronze, silver, gold type. package strategy. And then you have dynamic estimates, which is a different
Mhm.
tool, which allows you to give someone a quote for what they called you for.
Mhm.
And then you can recommend add-ons or something else that would pair well with what they're purchasing. And then under that, you can also add optionals, which is just other things that they may be interested in.
Right.
And it's a really great way to start cross-selling or upselling
Exactly.
right away from the beginning. And you really should from the beginning, right?
Oh,
If you can.
100%.
I mean, some companies like to take their time and build trust, and then they want to pitch more. But why not let your customers know about your entire menu and let them decide? And
Exactly.
even better if you're bundling it and sweetening it up by adding discounts or whatever, right? So I can show that stuff. But yeah, I mean, these are all the filters. Um, text data, call data. Like I use total number of calls. I use this filter to help me automatically move people from lists. Once I call you, you've received a you've met the threshold for that filter, and then you automatically get moved. That's how I use that. Jobs, all the different job stuff,
Mhm.
job status, service type. When you go into service type, is any or is any or is not any of. This is where you get into the cross-selling. They are not buying this. I want to find people that are not buying this,
Exactly.
but I want them to be buying this, right?
Exactly.
So you can apply those filters in that way to show you they're buying this and not that. And then there's your list for cross-selling that thing. And, it shows all of your service types, whatever you have in here, and all this is custom, right? You put all your service types in, you select.
Mhm.
You can select more than one. I want to tell everybody that if you are using this tool or if you're in your GorillaDesk right now, kind of messing around with it while you're watching the video,
Mhm.
make sure that let's apply a filter. When you apply a filter at the top right, make sure you save and update.
Yes.
I've had a few calls where some people have thought they've done a lot of work building their lists, and the whole time they're just applying the filters, and then they leave the screen and their filters disappear.
Oh,
Make sure you save and update, and then your filters stay. And then there's nothing else to worry about.
right.
He may like my brother might add like, do you want to save
Like an
this
auto
or
save with each click type
something
of thing.
because it's been such a common like user error. We may try to fix that. Like,
Here's
after
another
we
hack
fix it.
for them too. Figure out how to screen record too. Anytime you're using a new that this is a hack I've been doing like forever actually. Not even just with GorillaDesk, any platform. If I'm using a new feature for the first time, I screen record it. That way if something's lost and I'm like, oh dude, like I'm not gonna remember any
What did I do?
well
Go back.
exactly. It's like almost a SOP video essentially of how did I do this? Exactly.
You can get into like the estimates if you want. I mean, I'm
Yeah, yeah, we can hit
do
on that real
whatever.
quick. Yeah, I know a lot of people aren't really utilizing that even enough. They're just using kind of I mean, even us from time to time, we're just trying to get them out real quick, just sticking with, like, plain basic estimates sometimes, and I know a lot of people just aren't utilizing it at all.
So this is gonna be where I kind of plug the help center too, right? Because I can walk everyone through everything, but we really did a good job, or my brother and his team did a really good job of populating the help tab with information on everything, every feature that we have.
Exactly.
So there's a video walkthrough, there's images, and then there's step by step. What is this
And
tool?
they're
How can I
very
use it?
very
Literally go to add-ons, click the toggle next to dynamic estimates to enable this feature. Step
Mhm.
one. Step two, like it's very simple. So if you want to audit, if you're in your GorillaDesk now and you want to give yourself a quick audit on what you're using or not using, just go to your add-ons and see what you have turned on and what's off. If there's
100
something off that you have access to, go to the help center and just read about it and see if it's a tool that would benefit you.
exactly.
Most most of the time it's gonna be, right? And then you'll realize, "Man, I should have been using this the whole time."
Yeah.
But to get back to the estimate stuff, dynamic estimates enable you to include optional recommended items, providing your customers with customizable choices. Now they get to select, right? So let's say you're going to do an ant job. Then you also want to recommend that they sign up for your plan. And then optional might be maybe you want to add mosquito also. And they get
Mm,
to select what they want to add to the invoice.
right.
So this is what a basic estimate looks like. This is just if you basic users have access to this. This is just to you select the item, the cost, and it sends them, it has your logo, all that great.
Right.
This is what it looks like when it's filled out. This is great to use this document because I get to show them how everything looks like kind of one at a time. So this is basic. This is what a dynamic estimate looks like with the
Yeah.
required, recommended, and optional. Great tool for guys that offer multiple things and want to upsell stuff.
Yeah.
This is how the estimate looks, and you can see the customer, when it's sent to them, they select what they want to do, and then they can sign and accept, and then it comes back to you, and you see, oh, great, Susie picked this, this, and this.
Exactly.
Awesome. And you, when you go to do it, you make sure that you allot yourself enough time to execute all the things they picked. And then this is what the actual estimate looks like once it's completed.
Mhm.
The required item is what they're calling you for. The recommended is what you're recommending as a professional that they also do. And then anything optional.
Right.
And then we have the estimate packages, the bronze, silver, gold strategy of selling. So, and they get to pick. You can offer them when you send the estimate to pick between these packages, and they just select the one they sign and send it back to you. It's that
Mhm.
simple, right? And it's clean. So, no matter how you operate, if you sell everything a la carte, if you have packages, if you know, wanted upsell in an estimate, there's different ways to do it. If you just want to send the
Right.
basic one, fine, right? But the options are there. And then this is what the package estimate will look like in the estimate. So your logo would be up here,
Mhm.
and then all the details of everything that is in the package is in there. You select it, sign, and you're good to go. And all this stuff is templated, right? Too. That's
Yeah.
another thing I think that's important to mention in GorillaDesk, right?
100%.
SMS templates, like if you're sending anything more than once, like repetitive, like you can create a template, and then within 2 clicks of a button, you have a text for a specific thing in the send box. If you're sending an email, estimate stuff, job details, like all that stuff gets loaded in. So there is a little bit of work up front, making sure that all of the information you want to have in here is in here. But
Mhm.
once it's all set up, it's set up. And then you're just clicking around, like using it, right? Like
Exactly.
what's your experience with using templates?
Oh, I love the templates, especially like I'm not gonna lie, like I made it a lot harder on myself. I know a lot of it was just how my journey has been. Like I've been growing, it seems like as the Grill Desk itself has been growing at the same time. And I was just like you said, you get used to just doing it one way over and over and over, and, like, I knew for about a year or 2, like, "Man, I have this in my arsenal, this in my arsenal," and I've toyed around with it, but then when I hired my admin assistant, that was when we really started ramping up these templates and all this because, otherwise, it's like you're having to constantly it makes training so much easier because instead of being like, "Oh, you need to type this every time, you need to type that, you need to type this, you need to type that," you can just say, oh, like, for example, I didn't realize we didn't have a bed bug estimate template, and she was like, "Hey, do we?" Because she got so used to using the templates now that she's like, "Do we not have a bed bug
Yeah.
template?" And I was like,
Then you just make
"Oh."
one, and
Exactly.
you make it one time, maybe you
And you're
edit it
done.
later, but then it's there forever. And
Exactly.
before we could template this stuff, I
Oh
had
my gosh.
a Google document
Yep.
that's 33 pages long of all of my scripts and templates for everything, and we were copying and pasting.
Yeah. Yep.
But even
100%.
that was a huge advantage at the time because we don't have to type anymore.
Right, just
So,
paste and yeah, exactly.
but it's all about efficiency. GorillaDesk, my brother did a good job at, eliminating the repetitive things, baking it in, make it all simple, saving you time, making things easy. That's the whole goal, right? So
100%.
this is all estimate stuff. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry, right? Like there's
Oh,
three
yeah.
types of estimates. There's the basic, dynamic packages. You set them up. and then they're there for you. And they're
Exactly.
there in the field for you too for mobile. And when you send these out, if you're on the growth plan and you have the opportunity pipeline on and the opportunity generator is enabled, all these estimates, when they're sent, they get turned into opportunities. And then your management part's taken care of for you. Now they're there.
Exactly.
You can see them. You can feel them. You're not wondering like, oh man, did I follow up with this or that? Like, you just go and look and
And
see what you have to do.
well, and then from there, you got your SmartView set up too, and from there,
Mhm.
again, everything, it just like you said, it becomes more and more just streamlined, automated to where it's just like you said, just more so click, click, click. It's not just typing nonstop like a madman. It's just a couple clicks. And he did actually hit on that too. He's like, that's the whole mission is just trying to make everything click a button, click a button, click a button, as little amount of friction as possible. Just like when we're selling our customers at the end of the day, we want to create as little amount of friction as possible. And I think that's why GorillaDesk has continued to just flat out take over the CRM space now, not just in the pest control industry, but in the home service industry as a whole. I mean, I know you all are getting big and you all been in pool for a little bit now, feels like. That was one of the first ones, right? That the pest
Lawn
control
cleaning,
on
lawn inspectors. There's so many trash bin cleaning's been a big
yeah,
one. There's been a
yeah,
lot of people getting into that. So many
pressure washing.
interesting.
Yeah.
If people are out on the road, like going and doing work, you can use GorillaDesk.
100%. Yeah, because in a lot of them, even easier. Like if you're not in a pest control or lawn somewhere where you're, applying chemical, you don't have to worry about all these chemical usage logs and all this other stuff. Um, but even for, say, the pool companies and all that different stuff, like they still have some chemicals that maybe it's not, well, I don't know enough about it to know, but maybe it's not as strict as, pest control,
Compliance is
but
a really big deal in pest control, right?
right. But at least
If
you
you
have the
use
offset
GorillaDesk,
where you can use it if nothing else is it makes your inventory system easier,
yeah.
if nothing.
If you use GorillaDesk, you don't have to worry about compliance.
Exactly.
All right, so what's your experience with?
Mhm.
Have you been audited yet?
Yep. Yeah, so in Texas, they're supposed to come out to you your first 6 months after you open your business. Since I opened mine right in the heart of COVID, that didn't happen, and ended up being like 3 years where they finally made it out for my first one, but, like everyone, I tried to over prepare essentially, and
Yeah.
she matter of fact, she even though she was relatively new at the Texas Department of Agriculture, she recognized GorillaDesk, and she was like as soon as she saw, she was like,
Thank you.
you didn't even
Thank you
need
so
to."
much.
Well, I'd even printed it out, and she could just tell by the font and the layout. She's like,
Yeah.
"You didn't even have to print this out. We could have just went on your phone and just." She's like, I'm used to this with this platform by now." She's like, "If you somehow mess this up, like you're not gonna be looking good."
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. I was like, "Yeah, you'd probably be a proponent of Gorilla Desk then, 100%." And yeah, ever since then,
It's
that
something
like
we
you said,
stress
that's a
about.
big deal.
It's something we stress about as owners, right? We don't want any issues with the Department of Ag. Like this is
No,
our livelihoods. We don't want fines. We don't want our licenses pulled.
or
So
worse. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I know every state's a little bit different, but like I know in Texas, I mean, shoot, I mean, there's people that go and do jail time depending on the severity, even. And I mean, you can actually go to the Texas Department of Agriculture website, and there's a long Excel sheet that will just show every company, every address of that company, what they were hit for. I mean, and it's a long, 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 long list. So like it's not a list you want to be on either. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, and coincidentally, at least I know in Texas, at least about a dozen people, dozen companies, I should say, some as large as probably 10 to 20 techs roughly, and I haven't seen any of their names on that list. So there you go. There's your testimony in that regard.
Hopefully, no Gorilla Desk users on that list, and if they are, it's their fault.
Negligence. Yeah, exactly. It's negligence at that point. And that's essentially what she was even saying. Like, hey, if You mess it up, definitely on you. I mean, you're not doing the my grandfather still to this day does paper everything, and I mean, he admits he's to the point now where he's about wrapped up because he's in his 70s now, but, he mentions, like, it's way more intense in terms of just making sure that you're getting every little piece of information on there. Like, in some cases, whenever you were a new tech back in that era and on the job learning, it would take longer your first few days just to write a ticket out than to
Dude, don't even get me started on what it was like back in the day.
yeah,
It was crazy. I mean, I've been in it my entire life, so I've
right.
36 years. My dad was licensed for everything. That's
Oh,
pretty much.
wow.
He was listening for general pest, lawn and ornamental, termite. He did fume. He was pitching tents with like him and my uncle.
Man.
And so he was doing everything. And man, I remember when I got into it right after college, this must have been like 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, or 12.
Mhm.
We didn't have the battery powered backpacks.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't have the rigs, like the 50-gallon rigs. So what I was doing was I was buying garden hose sprayers that have
Uh-huh.
like the little reservoir that you put your concentrate in.
Right.
And I had like 400 yards worth of garden hose in my truck. And I would use little tie wraps to keep them coiled up. I am a professional friggin' hose twister, dude. Like I can wrap a hose up like
Yeah.
I'll go against the best of them. I've
Right.
been doing it for so long. And if we got it wrong, my dad would be like, stretch it out, stretch it all the way back out, get the
Do
water
it
out.
again.
If you left water in the hose,
Oh,
big problem because now it weighs 50 times more when it's empty.
right.
So, man, you stretch the thing out, you make sure that it's pitched so that while it is stretched out, all the water drains out and you roll from the end that's up. So
That
you walk
way the
over to the higher side and then you start cranking it.
going.
So yeah, man, like I come from that. I had MapQuest printed out,
Oh, yeah.
my first stop, the ticket and the map. And then it showed me how to get there. And then, you know,
And to
the
think there's
next
companies
ticket
still
and the next
doing
map.
that, like, that's what blows my mind. Like, someone like him, I'm like, "Whatever," but, like, when I see, like, actual operations that are like, companies with multiple techs and stuff like that still doing that, it's like,
Wild.
"Why? Why?"
Wow. When it's so cheap now,
Oh, yeah, it's
it's
not
so
like
cheap
now
now
to
to
where,
order those.
$1,000 a month. I mean, you're talking close to a tenth of what they used to.
Friggin' one or two customers a month pay for you to get completely organized and run a real business, right? You
Exactly.
have the bandwidth to focus on the important stuff instead of losing
You've only
chunks in
got
your
so much energy in a day, and if you're wasting that energy on mundane task like tickets, anything paperwork related, I tell people, I'm like, honestly, I don't know how 7, 8-figure companies were really built. Like, props to the guys that started these now conglomerates of determined
Yeah.
stuff. Cause like, just thinking back in the 30s and so on, like, when they first started, like, oh my gosh, cause now I'm like, I'm convinced, especially in today's day and age, I tell everybody, you're not gonna hit millions of dollars if you don't have a CRM. Like, it's just a fundamental thing at this point. I don't know if it's just the tech.
You mean you can, but man, why would you wanna put yourself through that?
Yeah, exactly, and, like, even if you do, you're gonna have so much
It's gonna be
cost
organized
in
chaos.
admin and everything else, or like you said, just straight up chaos.
It's not gonna be efficient. At the end of the day, it's just not efficient. It's so
No.
efficient to have everything in one system that works for you in a very simple way. I mean,
Exactly.
it's a no-brainer, right? So,
It really.
really now the big mission is just letting everyone know that we've been working on developing a premium product for the last 13 years. Here we are. We've been working in the shadows and, we have a great following, right? The business is doing
Right,
we have
right.
a lot of companies using the system.
Yeah.
But now my brother's like, we need to tell everybody now because I built something like really great here.
Oh, yeah, that you all can actually, like, truly stick your chest out about it. That's why, like I said, when I see comments, especially when they come on my channel or anything, like, I'm not one of those because I don't see myself as an influencer in the first place. I'm like
You are, but you are.
I know people say that from time to
Even if
time.
you influence one person, they've been
True.
influenced,
That's true. No,
and it's
that's
gonna keep growing.
true. Yeah.
You're staying consistent with it, so you're gonna, people are gonna get value out of this stuff, and it's
Oh,
great that
100%.
now you have, thanks so much for having my brother and I now, but hopefully we could do more of these and add more value and talk about different things, specific, maybe operational, being an owner,
Yeah.
philosophical things, whatever we can do to help because it's a lonely place sometimes for a lot of these guys.
Right,
It's
right.
it's like it's tough. So there are
Exactly.
resources. The community is cool. The community in pest control I think is really neat. There are bad apples, but for the most
Mhm.
part, everyone's really supportive and helpful
Right.
because everyone knows what it's like to struggle out there. And I'm
Exactly.
not trying to make it sound like, man, owning a pest control, it's a lot of suffering and struggle and all that, but
Business in general. Exactly.
it
It's
is,
just they
right?
don't call it the 1% for nothing. There's a reason
And
why
now you
the
can go online.
percentages are just ridiculous. Like something like 95% of people, um, or no, 95% of people want to start a business. Only something like 60% will ever even try. Of that, 90% of them will fail within the first 2 years. And then of that 10% that remain, only 5% of that will even hit
It's
six
tough
figures.
for everybody.
Exactly. It's
Everybody.
12% of the 1%, if you really think about it.
So you probably remember at one point, if you were doing an initial job or a setup or something that was like not a recurring service, you
Exactly.
had to set that up separate from the recurring service
Yes.
as two separate jobs. So you would have your initial and it was a one time, and then you would have to set up another job that was maybe your bi-monthly or quarterly, and then make sure that it was set up to recur forever. Now, what you can do is you can have jobs or services auto trigger other jobs based on whatever custom parameters you want. So let's say I have an initial ant service, and then after the ant service is completed, I want 90 days after for it to automatically trigger their quarterly service. And then I want that quarterly service to happen automatically forever. What was happening was a lot of people were doing their initials or their setups, and they may have been selling the recurring service, but forgetting to create that job and set it up forever.
Been there.
So we wanted to create a feature where you can create custom service plans that auto trigger things. Now, I've seen a few interesting ways that it's being used. One is for the way I just told you, right? Like
Mhm.
you have an initial and then you want it to set up something. Another way is for people that had the seasonal businesses. So
Mhm.
let's say you're doing lawn care and then winter comes and you turn into snow plowing. X
Mm.
amount of days after the lawn care service expires, it's going to automatically trigger the snow plowing,
Mm.
right? Or anything else that you want it to auto trigger.
Yeah.
And then in the lawn space, those guys are rotating herbicides, um, they're rotating they're rotating insecticide application. So what they'll do in the frequency changes, right? In the winter months, you get way less applications than you would in the spring and summer.
Mm.
So let's say you're doing applications bi-monthly for the first, maybe 4 months of the year, or you're going monthly, and then you want to go out less. So you have that part of the season, once it expires, auto trigger the next part of the season. And then once that expires, trigger the next part of the season. So
Mm.
that way, once you set up a customer, they're set up. You don't have to worry about creating multiple jobs
Right,
and
right.
making sure that they're set up in the right frequency. Create the service plan, it's custom, and you set it up one time
For the start date and then
and they're all templated. So once you create all of the different service plans that you have to offer, they're just one click away when you set a customer up. All you have to do is then go into the scheduling part and make sure that everything is happening when it should happen. So
right.
You would go into service plans, you would turn it on. When you go to add a plan, you name the plan, you select the first service, which will then, once it expires, trigger the next. So when you go to add a service, the the quarterly pest control service will trigger 1 day after this initial whatever, right? Maybe it's an inspection, but you can set how long
Mm-hmm.
you want it to trigger after the first thing's completed. Once this one's completed, you can then have it trigger another one. You can have as many triggers as you want, but I want to caution you, kind of like the SmartViews thing, don't overthink this, right? You want to try to make this really simple. And I was coaching someone on a call who wanted some help with this, and he had a service plan that had like 12 triggers, and it was crazy, right? You have to really think about, what needs a frequency change, really, if that's what you're using the service plan for. And then just have those things. Once this frequency is done and I need to change my frequency, it needs to trigger the next thing. And then you build it out from there. So here we have a service plan where, the bed bug treatment is triggered after an initial. The cockroach treatment can be triggered after an initial. And this is if you have multiple services being completed
Mm-hmm.
after an inspection visit or something, you can use it that way. And then you have your service plans in your template, and it tells you how many jobs are in the service plan, and you name them whatever you want to name them so you can easily identify them. And then when it goes into the scheduling part, that's where you really refine when these jobs are then going to pop up on the calendar. Once you set that up, all of the jobs will be automatically triggered. And after you complete one, you will see on that customer's account, the next job pops up. Once that one's completed, the next one pops up, and it will just keep doing that until the service plan is completed. What will be coming soon, and we don't have the option for that now, is for you to reactivate service plans so that you don't have to go in and set the schedule up again for that customer.
Hmm.
Right? That's gonna
I'm wondering if
this is
maybe
still
that's what I was messing up then at
this
one
is still
point.
in beta, right? So
Yeah.
we're testing it, we're finding where it's weak, and we're gonna make the next iteration do everything that it absolutely needs to do. We should be able to restart those service plans and have them just pick up without you having to do any work. You
Right.
should be able to choose, I do want this to restart at the new year or whenever, or create a trigger for it to trigger it to restart again so you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah.
Another
Yeah.
thing you can do too is when you're setting up each service, each one of your triggers on the schedule, you can use the best available job time to show you when it makes sense to have that job pop up on the calendar based on when you're going to be in the service area,
Mm.
which is really nice. So this
Right.
also kind of helps you start routing a bit. And I mean, it's great. We use it now because we do initials for everything, or we do our roach treatment is 2 treatments 2 weeks apart, and then we get them into their regular.
Right. Exactly.
For our lawn care stuff, we do a lot of evaluations. So that evaluation will trigger treatment that triggers other things. And that's it. It sounds, I don't know if it sounds complicated or simple, but it was something that was a pain for a lot of people, and people were missing jobs because they were forgetting to set them up.
Yes, and I've been there too, or even worse, when you set up like what we were doing early on, with the recurring invoice thing was setting up the recurring in like we would set the initial job, and I say we, it was when it was just me. I would set up the initial service and I would go ahead and set up the recurring invoice with no job attached. Why I did that way, I have no idea. But
Right.
uh,
So
then
and
they'd
all
start
this
being charged, and then like 6 months would go by, and like, hey, when's the last time you've been out here? I'm like, good question. I don't know. And then you go look, and you're like, oh no, like I've accidentally been charging them and not going out. So like, yeah, it can create an issue. Like there's lots of ways that can become a headache. I will say on the service plan, I'm wondering if one thing that even I had kind of messed up early on is say the quarterly example where you had like the initial service and then it said one day after that job gets completed, the quarterly service triggers. What I had done in there, and again, like you said, it might just be that you're overthinking it when doing it like this, is I set it up thinking, well, it's a quarterly service. I need to set it to fire 90 days after the initial service. Um, I'm guessing that that
Yeah.
causes an issue then for sure because you need
Well,
to.
it will. The initial, so you'll have the initial completed,
Mhm.
and then 90 days after that, the quarterly will start. So
Right.
you'll have your first quarterly job 90 days after the initial. So you were thinking about it correctly.
Mhm.
And then that quarterly will repeat. So it doesn't
Okay.
repeat anymore. So you can have a repeat forever. And
Right,
that's what
right,
you
right.
want, right? Ideally. But if some service plans are seasonal, right? What it doesn't do right now is set that plan back up for them next year. Or if it's like
Right.
termite, right? If you want to renew, you have to go in and reactivate the service plan. But I'm pretty confident that my brother is going to, he's even said it, he's going to figure out a solution for automating that. So, and that's what's great about getting the feedback from everyone, right? Because we build these tools and we have an idea, but it's not until everyone's using it and with all the different nuances that exist in all the different types of companies that we really learn about, where the gaps are
Mhm.
and where the opportunity is in the user experience to improve it, right? We don't want people not setting up their recurring revenue. And
Right,
that, and
right.
if that's an issue, and if we hear it more than once, it's like, okay, we need to look at this and figure it out. Here was the solution,
Right, right.
and it's working
That
great
makes sense.
for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, I guess we can because the quarterly example would be the best one, I'm
Yeah,
guessing.
let's make a service plan where an initial triggers are quarterly.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
set it all up, and then we'll go into your practice account and we'll complete the jobs so that you
Right.
can see them pop back up and make sure that everything's happening in the right time and just so people can see how it actually works.
Exactly.
So
So, like, this was kind of the current setup where, we had the initial service, and then, like I said, what we did is we had it to trigger where, 90 days after the initial,
okay, let's build
the
it.
quarterly goes. Yeah.
It looks good. This is a simple example.
So then let me see.
So go to your practice account.
Yeah.
I recommend if you're watching this, put yourself in as an account and use yourself to practice testing all these features and stuff on.
100%.
It's
You
really,
where I
really
sent
helpful.
out an automated email to myself saying how it
Yeah.
looked.
Before you implement a new thing, test it. Always test it
100%.
because you could make a mistake. You could click the wrong thing or forget something.
Did that on the AI agents recently.
Yeah. If it's not working, no damage done. And you keep moving forward. So let's create a
So,
new job. So now when you have it enabled, see how the drop down you have service plans.
mhm,
And now we have,
our initial to quarterly GPC.
so we're gonna click
Right.
here. And this is where we set it up on the calendar. Now, when you're setting it up and you're practicing, you need to make sure that for the location, there is an address there. And when you are going to do the scheduling part, you have to assign text. Otherwise, it won't let you save it. So
Right, right. So would you click on detail in there or
yeah, yeah, go ahead, click detail.
okay.
And so this is where you'll assign a tech. This is where you'll put the start date. This is where you'll set up the invoice or add any documents, just like you would a normal job. But you're just doing it for more than one service type now because on
Sure. If it was just the initial, so we just save that
Mhm.
and then go into
Go to the next one.
quarterly. Okay, this is where I didn't see any of this, so this explains a lot because that was what my main issue was. I was like, our monthly invoice is not populating. So yeah, I think I'm already figuring out kind of what the issue is.
B, and this is what it takes, and this is what happens on a lot of my calls, right? Is they
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to shame you or anything,
It's
but
just a new thing.
normal,
Yeah.
right? You get into something and it feels a little uncomfortable and you're not confident and you're like, "I'll look at it later." Just
Exactly.
sit with it for a little bit. Don't be hard on yourself. Accept that you're learning something new, kind of be excited about it because now you're gonna make an improvement, right? You're trying to really
Right.
figure out how to make an improvement in your business
Exactly.
and you learn it and you get to use it all the time. Now
It's like on this, I always forget to change our date because we bill on either the 1st or 15th. So, like, if I did it, so if we're actually starting in September, our billing actually goes back to July 1st.
every time you implement a new feature, you're making an improvement on your business because now you're changing a process and how you operate moving forward.
Exactly. Oh, I'm gonna plug this entire clip right here into our SOP, as a matter of fact, because this is gonna make admin job so much easier because instead of continuing to do it the old way of, hey, let's do an initial and then let's not forget to add a quarterly or a monthly or whatever.
Let's not forget. You don't need to worry about forgetting now. You just set it up one time.
Exactly.
Right now, I mean, you'll have to worry about forgetting to set it up again if it's a seasonal thing that has an end. But for the most part, a lot of guys are using an initial to set up something that's recurring forever. But
Exactly.
right now, that's totally cool. So we have it set up.
Mm-hmm.
We have it set up.
So we could essentially just complete this initial out.
Yeah, let's look at it. So you have the initial, it's active. We can see it in the
Right.
background,
Yeah.
right? Let's complete it.
And then I'll probably have to refresh the screen. There it is.
Boom, there's your quarterly, baby.
And the invoice. And then you can even, what I always like to tell people is don't go into the job to check your invoice if you're doing the monthly. Go into actual invoices, and then you'll see created. That's your first invoice. Because where I messed up with the recurring invoice thing is I double charged the heck out of people one time when I was first doing this. It freaked me out. So I was like, wait. Why is the upcoming invoice showing 801? It should be 701. So then I went in there, edited it, pulled everything forward. So everybody got double charged that first time. So save people a lot of headaches in terms of refunds or credits, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, that's why this exercise is so great because you're taking the time to sit and I don't know, you could probably go back and see how long it took for you to figure this out.
Oh,
And we talked a lot in between, but really like it's not that long if you just take the time to practice and it really only takes doing it one time usually
right.
to figure it out. So when you completed that job, if you want to go back into your account, we want to make sure that the date of the quarterly that was triggered on the right date, and that will show you that you set it up on the schedule correctly.
So that'd be job.
In your jobs. So you have the initial, it was on 6/19, and then your quarterly popped up.
Yeah, I did 90 days. Right.
You did 90 days. If it was a bi-monthly, the bi-monthly would trigger 60 days.
Awesome. Yeah.
How beautiful is that? Yeah. Now you did your initial and your quarterly is already set up forever.
Exactly. So yeah, no, that is the quarterly, bi-monthly, monthly. Those are going to be the most common ones, of course, that people use, even for things like mosquito services, commercial services. So it's like you said, as soon as you set one of these up, it makes it where you can just almost quote unquote copy paste for future.
And let's say you used a dynamic estimate and the person also selected monthly mosquito control. 30 days after the initial, or if you completed on the initial, you can have it trigger, and then your mosquito will trigger every single month, along with the quarterly.
Right.
Overlap.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, because that would be its own service plan in that case. Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about that too. Interesting. Yeah, no, it's yeah, just what I guess 3, maybe 4 things that we really went over today. I mean, it's gonna save so much time and resources and just headaches really in terms of just your overall productivity. It's gonna increase productivity at the end of the day because when you're saving all this time, headaches.
You're not gonna miss the money. You're not gonna miss the money. And for the longest time before we even had SmartViews and I was running my business through this, I wasn't cross-selling or upselling because I didn't have an easy way to do it, so I wasn't doing it, and so think about all of the years that I went without upselling my customers, it's thousands of dollars, if
Exactly, exactly.
millions.
And then, like we
Yeah,
said,
just
I mean, even just little brain farts, like when I was setting up invoices and then not going back in and, setting up the recurring job at the end of the day when you get back to the office. And the next thing you know, 6 months goes by and you charge the customer. My record, as a matter of fact, was somebody was charged. Now, this one's a little bit of a one off because she had canceled, she had canceled her service and I deleted the job, but did not delete the invoice. And she didn't let me know. I went back. It was kind of frustrating because you can see in the notes, of course, when they open the documents, invoices, and that, she opened every invoice religiously. Didn't say nothing. Hadn't been for me noticing in my reports one day, seeing her name being like, why is she in here? She hadn't been a customer for 13 months. She was charged 13 months in a row, that monthly rate, and I just refunded it without even talking to her about it. I'm guessing she was super happy to see a random deposit that big one day pop in the
be terrible.
account. But,
But
oh
people we
gosh,
make mistakes too, right? And
and they're costly.
even though the system is built to help mitigate that, we're
Mhm.
still humans interacting with the system. So
Exactly.
take the time to do your research and to practice and get really comfortable with it because the more comfortable you are, the more powerful of a tool it is.
Exactly. Exactly. Cannot say it better myself.
And there's so much coming, and I mean, we could be on this podcast for hours and
Oh,
hours and hours going over
yeah.
everything. But that's why I encourage you, if you are watching this and you're a GorillaDesk user, go to add-on, see what you're using, see what you're not. Go to the knowledge base, check it out. You can always call GorillaDesk to get, an in-person coaching session. The knowledge base is always there. Support is always there. People can book calls with me, and I help people out all the time if when I have time. I'm starting to figure out, I've had all my free time for so long. I'm fitting my way into GorillaDesk more full time. So
Yeah.
you're going to be seeing a lot more of me,
I
fortunately.
noticed that
So
over the
yeah.
last couple months or maybe even more now. Like,
Yeah, I'm hoping to take everything that I learned from building my business and share it with the GorillaDesk users and, be another arm for my brother just to help, you know,
right.
provide more value. We're just trying to provide as much value as possible.
Exactly. Because the rest takes care of itself ultimately. And I forgot. I always ask one question, usually at the beginning. Same question I asked your brother the other day. What is like your favorite, I guess, hobby or outlet that does kind of get your creative mind juices flowing?
I have a few. In terms of creative, it's music for me also. We grew up
Oh,
in a
okay.
household where my dad was a guitar tyrant and he wanted us
Mhm.
to be great guitarists.
Yeah.
I took a different avenue with guitar. My brother did more of the rock stuff. He can shred. He's very fast, plays
Oh, yeah.
electric guitar. I went the classical route. So I'm a classically trained guitarist. And as of late, I bought myself a piano last year. It's something I've always wanted.
Yeah.
And I've been taking piano lessons. So I'll go and I'll sit down at the piano and I retaught myself how to read music. And I'm learning classical piano songs. So I do that. Last year, I redid my entire backyard. I have a nice pool back there, and the landscaping's cool. And I live next door to my parents, so in the evening time, I'll spend time back there. I put a speed bag up, put music on, and I'll tune out on the speed bag, and I'll just hit to the rhythm for as long as I can
Right.
and hang out there. I play pickleball. Used to cycle a lot, but traffic in Miami is kind of scary now, so I don't really ride my bike that much anymore. But
Miami's
yeah,
a lot like
music.
DFW now, it seems.
Music's a big outlet for me. I love all sorts of music. I go to shows. Like I want to try to host little local bands in my backyard to play for my friends and family.
Oh, okay.
So music's huge. What's
Yeah.
yours? What do you do?
Oh, man, mine is mostly one,
Well, you said the gym.
the YouTube, and then, of course, yeah, the gym whenever I'm being consistent with that. It's gotten a lot easier now that we moved a couple years ago. I didn't think about it at the time, no gym within about 20 minutes of us. So, there for about a year. Just kind of did what I could in the garage. So
Push up some jump squats, baby. It's all you need. Just
exactly that, and then I bought a little trim mill that had up to I think level 13 incline. I was like, that's plenty to get your heart rate going. And then of course out in Dallas, it gets up to 100 degrees, 110 degrees,
Yeah, you
4 or
gotta
5
stay
months out of
inside,
the
man.
year. It's crazy. And then finally this gym opened up this year, and yeah, literally like
I'm still
2 years
young,
down
but
the road. I love it.
I am so thankful that I don't have to deal with the heat anymore. So,
Yeah, you're also just what, the humidity more than anything. I know I have
yeah, it's
grandparents that
getting out of the
heat in
truck.
our area.
Yeah, you get out of the truck, and if you're wearing sunglasses, they fog up, and you feel sticky right away because the air is wet.
Yeah.
You go from getting completely soaked in sweat for the 30 minutes that you're spraying, and then you're getting into your AC truck, you're drying, you're getting out, you're getting sweaty again.
And your shirt feels like ice depending on the length
Yeah.
of the trip in between stops, and that wears off after about 30 seconds
But
after you get out.
I do thrive in the heat. I love that. There's no way I would be able to deal with the cold.
Oh,
I'm not shoveling snow. I love snowboarding, and I'll go travel to be in the snow for a short period of time, but I'm always eager to get home
yeah,
to throw a t-shirt and shorts on.
exactly. No, I grew up in the Midwest, and gosh, up there it's like torture because it's like there's just violent movements. I mean, especially in the spring and fall seasons, you're talking 70 one day, 20 the next, just these violent movements. And that's why, same here. I mean, when I had the chance to move down here about 10 years ago now, I was like, let's do it. I'm not even asking any questions. We'll figure it out.
Also
And
great for business too to not have
oh
like
my God.
seasonality of a winter.
Yeah, me and Jonas talked about it on his podcast recently where he was like talking about when seasons slow down and this and that. And I was like, well, shoot, down here, season doesn't really slow down. Like we have a little bit of a cool season where rodent activity starts to go up, but we're a rodent company too. So it's like even when the bug stuff does slow down a little bit, which it never really does completely, I mean, if anything, it's like multiple things going at once during those times of year versus up there, it'll be dead for a solid 3 to 4 months out of the year.
You're not doing anything. And I see posts in the Facebook groups of wildlife guys doing exclusion work in the snow, having to drive out and check bait stations. And I'm like, I get it, you're grinding, but that is not for me. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
no, I'm good. Yeah, sorry, good. I'm very good on that. No, yeah. Yeah, no. Well, awesome, man. No, I appreciate it. Actually, this podcast was about the same exact length as the one with the Bubba was, almost to the exact minute, as a matter of fact. Like,
We're easy to
this
talk
was like
to,
about
man.
3 minutes longer. So there you go.
You're easy to
Uh,
talk to.
yeah,
I
no.
wanted to show off my
The gorilla?
gorilla head. So GorillaDesk, we reward people for success in their businesses, and my brother had. I don't think he showed this. Did he show this to you on the
No, no, no.
podcast? So he had this made by an artist, and when a company achieves $1 million revenue in GorillaDesk,
Mm,
you get this sent to your house with some swag just to like congratulate you. And these are like a hot commodity. People love these things.
right.
So everyone's like,
Oh, yeah, I see him in the groups and everything.
can't wait to hit my million.
Um,
So I hit my million, and I mean, life is good.
yes.
Life is really good. We're so blessed.
I can't.
We worked really hard. It takes the work.
Oh, yeah. No, no. I mean, you all, even just on the pest control business side, you all been at it for, because I know you said your all's father was in it. Was that business his original business then?
Or dad started. So my dad went back to college when he was 34, got degrees in pest control technology and entomology. He
Mm,
graduated early. He went to night school while he had a full-time job. I think he was working 2 full-time jobs, kind of, and then still doing school. And my mom also, both my parents, our whole lives worked 2 jobs. Very blue collar. We didn't have a lot. They saved everything. Like every Christmas was my mom saying, I don't know if Christmas is going to be good or if you're going to have a lot of presents, but they always figured out how to make it special for us.
yep.
So they started that in 86,
Mm,
and it was just to supplement the family income. My dad, we needed health insurance, so my dad had to keep another job, and my mom always kept another job too. So when they would get home from work, my dad would go do pest stops or on the weekends. And when my mom would get home from work, she would work on the schedule and sales, return phone calls. And they only had one part-time guy. That was like the biggest they got. I think their best year ever, they did like 75 grand. And then my
Oh,
brother
that's
came in.
good.
Yeah, along with the other 2 jobs, and they had rental property, so they were good with their money. They were really frugal, they managed it tightly, they saved a lot, they didn't really use credit cards, and they provided. They
Yeah.
did a great job at providing. We had my brother and I always had everything we always wanted. It wasn't a lot, but we were grateful because we witnessed our parents. Like, when you're a kid, you're really observant, right?
Right.
At least I feel like I was. I'll speak for me. When I was a
Yeah.
kid, I was really observant, and I
Same.
I looked at what was going on in my house. I watched my brother grow up. I watched my parents work. I was, absorbing all that. So they instilled all that in us kind of indirectly. They've had the business since '86. My brother came in, made a website. He started growing the route. He had that for a little bit, and he used that money to fund the first version of GorillaDesk. But in order to do that, he had to step out of pest control and do it full time. Then, you know, I was left with it to grow, and I
Right.
decided, that's where I went into, I painted my perfect picture.
Exactly.
I love the business. It's not like my passion, but I had it and it was a great opportunity. And I'm glad I stuck with it and built it in a way to provide for me and my family,
Exactly.
you know?
That's what I tell everybody. So many people are told, I mean, all of us are told the whole follow your passion and this and that. I'm like, no, follow what God presents you with, and then you'll know when it's time to follow the passion.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier.
Sometimes people get lucky and like they are pursuing their passion and it turns out it's
You're
very
right.
difficult,
Exactly.
but it's possible. Other people have to really work super hard toward that, or they have to pivot a little bit and say, you know what, maybe this isn't necessarily my passion, but it
Right.
leans into a lot of my strengths.
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do with it, and then they find success there.
Exactly.
I think that's a kind of a good way to look at it. Even like in business now, everyone watching that owns a business, you're really good at all the things you're really good at,
Hmm.
but there are things that you're not going to be good at that still have to get done. So you either learn how to do them or you figure out how to get them done. I was that type of person because I'm a tech at heart through and through. I'm a plant guy. I like being outside. I don't like sitting behind the computer doing the logistical stuff,
Right.
scheduling, the routing. Like, I don't really even care to do sales unless it's in person because over the
Right.
phone just takes the fun out for me. I like
There
to
is
be
something about over the phone that's just totally different. That was my thing with the admin was I was like, I could just tell, like, today was one of the days where I had to actually get back to answering phones for the first time in a couple months, and even I was just kinda, like, rusty almost because I was like, "I don't even like doing this, really, to be honest." There's a reason why I hired this out, and, um no, exactly. Like you said, whenever you just immerse yourself into whatever your avenue may be in terms of a business owner, and you never know whenever you do that, that you might end up finding some passion you didn't even know was gonna exist because you think, "Oh, I wanna be of this, I wanna be of that," whatever the case may be. And then, like me, I had no idea. I had a very, very small idea because I took a couple, like, marketing courses. Well, I say courses, they were like high school courses or whatever, elective courses, whatever. But I had no idea that I was gonna like some of the logistical stuff, like marketing and building, web pages and
that kind of happened to me, right? And like my plan wasn't to do pest control. I went to
Mhm.
school, I was pre-med. I did you know, my first 3 years pretty much as a biology major, and I hated sitting in the library. So I thought to myself, what can I put these credits toward to a different degree so that I don't have to spend another 5
Mm,
years in med school and all that kind of stuff.
right.
And it was education. I had all the science credits. Now I just needed to get the education credits. And I was on my way to become a teacher, but part of the degree was to go and teach at local high schools. And it was really fun, but you learn quickly in the faculty lounge what a nightmare dealing with administrative work is and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And I'm not employable, really. I've had just a couple bosses in my life that I got along with,
Yep.
and it was because they left me alone. Like, they left me to do my thing.
Exactly.
So I found my way into pest control, but then I had to find out how to make it my own and what I was good at. And I ended up being really good at the efficiency side and like the detailed stuff, the operational stuff,
Right.
the procedural stuff. I was good at the tech stuff too, but I was really good at like setting up my employees with everything that they need to be successful.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I've never been an admin in my company. I've never done my books. I've never filed my taxes,
Wow.
but I know that it's super important. So I make sure
Right.
I find people that are competent. You know,
Exactly.
I learn about it enough to where if there's an emergency, it can get done. But
Right.
I
Right.
haven't done it. I always made sure that other people that were really good at that stuff could do it. I've
Exactly.
never built a full schedule like for a week in my business.
Dang. Wow.
I had most of my work was in the field
Yeah.
until I stepped out of the field. As soon as I was able to step out of the field, it was, we need to fix all this stuff. And then I got to fixing, but I had people to implement and do.
Right.
And fortunately, I was good at like giving them what they needed to do it. And then along the way, GorillaDesk was getting better, and then their jobs were getting easier. And then I was able to change how they were focusing their energy throughout the day.
Yeah.
And I run a super tight ship now. And
Exactly.
everything's getting done. I don't have to worry about it. I could go away for 3 months, come back, everything's, going
And
on.
that's the sign of a true business at the end of the day. I mean, like, a lot of people always say, like, if you can't leave your job at literally practically a drop of a dime, or whatever the case may be, and not have your business continue to function like any other day, then you don't own a business. You own
Yeah.
a job at that
Still have a
point.
job, still
And
needs work, and that's okay.
right,
Maybe
you
when
gotta
you
work. There's
feel that
levels. There's levels. Exactly.
when you feel that, just know that it's just a matter of you chipping away.
Exactly.
Eventually, you get enough of it done. I could make a list for myself right now of a million things that I could do in my business.
Mhm.
You could always do that.
Always.
You can also decide, I wanna get to this point so that I can relax a little bit, and then I go now my energy in the business kind of is in waves,
Mhm.
It's so macro now, like, I'm tweaking things, and then I have to let months go
Yeah.
by to see the data to see how it
That part's
plays
so
out,
hard too.
and
And you
then
wanna, like,
once it's
make a
tweaked
little tweak, it's hard to just let that ride.
before, it was every day fixing stuff, every
Yeah.
day documenting, every day scripting, creating. And then it was, okay, the first versions of all of that stuff, now you get to a level where you have to change operationally,
Mhm.
right? Like, as you work as a solo versus one employee versus
Oh,
5 and
yeah.
10, like, it kind of evolves. So you take version 1 of everything and you
Mhm.
go into, okay, improvement mode.
Yeah.
Let's look at all of our scripts. Let's clean them all up. Let's look at GorillaDesk, see what's new, what can we implement,
Mhm.
and you get geared up for the next growth phase, because you grow and retract, right? You grow, then that money gets used to bring in more people, profit goes down for you because you're reinvesting,
Yep.
and it comes back, and then, at least that's been my
Oh,
experience.
yeah, 100%.
During each one of
Exactly.
those phases is like a spring cleaning, right? You
Oh, yeah.
everything. Look at our pricing, look at how we're communicating with customers, look at the guys' trucks, look at their equipment, look at what products we have available now. Look at
Mhm.
product lines. Now, we're a 25B company. And initially, we were mixing essential oils and soaps like alchemists behind the trucks. And now I can buy a jug of pre-mixed concentrate, dilute it, and it's EPA exempt.
Exactly.
So you gotta kind of, especially now, like you gotta keep up with the tech. And I don't know if you go to Pest World, but Pest World is a cool place to see like what's going on. A lot of people go to Pest World. It's in
Right.
Orlando this year. They'll
Right.
have a booth there.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No,
that's
I
kind of
know.
been
I
like
was
my
trying really hard to make it to that Hawaii one a couple years ago. My
really
wife really wanted to
beautiful.
too, because that was where we had our honeymoon, and she unfortunately got sick during our honeymoon, like, 2nd, 3rd day in,
So you have
and
to go back.
this oh, yeah, 100%, and we were trying so
Reiterate it.
hard, it didn't end up working out that year, and like I told her though, I was like, "Good thing is they tend to do it in pretty good places every year." I said that, and then the next year, I think it was in Denver or something like that. I was like, "Oh, I don't wanna go to Denver." Like, we flew through Denver, funny enough, and on that trip, and I was like, "Ugh, not my type of place." It's not a destination, that I just dream of going or anything, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, I know it's what, Orlando this year. I forget next year. Wasn't
Kinda like rotates. I don't know
yeah,
next
wasn't
year.
Hawaii
I've been to Chicago.
Hawaii or something a while back? Like,
I don't know, but that would be cool.
I thought there was one
It's
there a
really
while
expensive to
back.
ship booth stuff there, but like we did Vegas, we did Chicago, we're doing Orlando, we did
Yeah,
Hawaii, so yeah, we're out there.
yeah, and that's, usually what, September, October, right? Usually?
Yeah, October, November.
Yeah, yeah, later in the year usually.
Toward the wind down where you start like, okay, we made a lot of profit. Let's send the team and let's do a golf and let's have some fun. It's kind of a fun time. Everyone's kind of winding down that
Yeah.
time of the year. And
Good time to network.
I love doing this stuff. I do it all day. I love helping people. I love when people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, you know,
Solving
this
that
is gonna
problem.
this is gonna save me so much. This is gonna help me out so much. You have no idea that it's like those are the moments that are great
Yeah,
to me, and
exactly.
that's what allows me to like want to keep doing them over and over again. But we need to be able to provide this training material to everyone in one go. I can't
Right.
have 10,000 calls. I'm
And that's
wondering.
what's good about doing these type of, you know,
Yeah,
podcasts, YouTube videos, whatever the case may be, is like you said, somebody can easily search something, especially in today's world of ChatGPT. They can search something up, and there's a very good chance that a video that has enough information about that will show up even in there now in a lot of cases. So,
my brother told you in the podcast. Someone ended up
yeah.
finding me on ChatGPT from a post in a Facebook group that is private.
Yes, that's insane to think about. Like
Yeah, right. That's wild.
a private group,
And it
not
was
just a
and it
group,
was
not on your public profile. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
it was an operator out of California who wanted to have a green product line or have a more eco-friendly service, and they wanted to find someone to talk to.
mhm,
So their prompt was, "Can you recommend someone to talk to help me learn about how to implement a green pest control practice?" And it said, "It sounds like you need to book a call with Chad." And it sent them my Calendly link. And she booked a call with me. I'm like, "How did you find me?" She told me. I was like, "That's
what?
crazy." But it
Yeah,
turned out she ended up also being a GorillaDesk user. So after I went through telling her everything that she needed to know about how to do green pest control successfully, we dug into her GorillaDesk account. And then, I was on the call with her for a while, but
right.
it was just really interesting how that ended up happening.
Oh yeah.
But it just goes to show like the power of Chat GPT and how far it digs into the World Wide Web.
Oh yeah.
Like,
In seconds. I mean, it's insane. Even
yeah.
as far as what I found too is it will dig into pages that aren't even being considered as indexed on Google, which that part just baffles me. I'm like, how, where are they finding it? Is it Bing? Like, where, like, it has to be some other search engine because, um, I'll get a customer not very often, but usually about once a quarter, roughly, I would say right now, where Coral's tracking will say that, OpenAI, ChatGPT, something of that nature for the parameter. And I make sure every time to like have a conversation with them personally about it. Like, hey, like what, like you said, what did you use to find us? Like, what did it show you? Like, I mean, you still have the chat history. Like, feel free to just send it to me. Like, I'm interested in that type of stuff. And sure enough, like the most recent one was in an area that we don't get a lot of organic traffic from. And he was like, yeah, no, I was having a American cockroach, but cockroach issue. And I asked for, what is the best cockroach exterminator in Wiley, Texas? And sure enough, we happen to have a blog post that Google doesn't even index anymore. I'm guessing something with the whole helpful content, whatever. That was literally just titled, you know, the best cockroach exterminator service in Wiley, something like that. What makes preferred pest management stand out from the rest? Something like that. Not even gonna lie, totally AI made blog post entirely. But sure enough, it showed that as like the main link. Like it did say self-proclaimed, which I found interesting that like I was like, I love how it made sure to catch on to that part of it. It was like the
World's number one pest control company.
yeah, exactly, right? But I was like, well, I mean, yeah, and they were like, and then I did look into you all, and you all had the good reviews, yeah, and I was like, so if nothing else, it gives another layer of
It's the
appeal.
Wild West right now. It's the Wild West right
Exactly.
now. And
Like your brother said, they're gonna monetize it at some point. They'd be irresponsible not to at the end of the day.
yeah,
I think what's
figuring
holding
out a
them back
way.
is they're not public right now. I think
Yeah,
that's the only thing.
they're gonna figure out a way though to where it's like probably you pay to play to be part of the response that is relevant to you.
Like search impression percentage, kind of like
Hope it
Google search.
doesn't,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's inevitable because, we want it
It's
to
a new
be
search
authentic
engine.
to an extent.
Yeah.
We want it to be authentic and we don't want it to be manipulated by money that way, but, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, and because that's a whole nother thing about it is like, say only one company, I think it would be either they all have to do it almost simultaneously or none, because if one does it and there's enough negative pushback on it, it could just blow up their platform entirely. Say if Chat did it first and everybody's like, well, I'll just go to Claude or Gemini or whatever the case may be, then it's like GPT's gone overnight. Just like, you compare Google to Yahoo, like Yahoo, I think Yahoo's technically AOL, probably a better example, you know,
Yeah.
could not hang on, like just could not. I mean, it blew up.
Jeeves.
Exactly. Yeah,
Where's
exactly.
Jeeves? Where did Jeeves go? So I want to know where is Jeeves?
Yeah.
Jeeves, man. Jeeves
Oh,
did so much of my homework as a kid.
yeah. Your brother made the reference, talking about his future AI agent or whatever, like talking to your phone or whatever. Cause yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, no, like I said, I appreciate you, both of y'all being
Yeah, this
on
was
for
fun.
the last
We gotta do
week.
more.
Yeah, no, cause I know, like I told him and telling you now, just with so much with GorillaDesk and the technology and AI, everything, I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about at this rate, probably within 90 days or less, maybe. So I know we'll all be in touch. And if you all need anything, as always, just let me know. And of course, if the audience wants to reach out to you, about, like you said, help with any of these tools in GorillaDesk, what's the easiest way to reach out?
Chad at GorillaDesk.com.
Got it. Got it.
That's it. Just email me and I'll send you a link and we'll, get to work. You gotta ask me about my book though, dude. I've been waiting for your book question.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I have to edit that out. At first, I was like blank. I was like, "What the hell is he?" I was like, "Did he come out with a book?"
Well, even it'll be funny.
Yeah.
All your
Uh,
viewers know about the book thing, so it'll be good.
exactly. Yeah, no. If you had to suggest one book to the audience, if it was the only book that you could read for the rest of your life that you're able to just constantly go back and pull some nugget of information from over and over again, what book would that be?
Well, there's one that I actually did that with through like for a while and I still kind of do, and it's Traction. right?
Mm.
And I'm sure some people have said that book, so I'm gonna say another book too. But Traction, if you're a business owner, man, it will really help you if you didn't go to school for business, if you don't know how to stay organized, get structure. Really, what Traction does is it helps you build a foundation for scalability.
Mhm.
And it's all about, you know, setting yourself up for success so that when you get busy, you don't have to go backwards because it's really hard.
Right.
So it's getting all the good stuff, getting your core values down, understanding who you are, who your core customer is, your mission, your vision, your values, how to manage people, how to execute on strategy. It is a business degree in a book, in my opinion.
Right.
My other book that I really liked,
Mhm.
which I also think is kind of funny, is Great CEOs Are Lazy. I don't know if
Heard
you've
of that.
heard of that one.
Nuh-uh.
It resonated with me because I've always jokingly considered myself a lazy entrepreneur. I want to figure out how to make it so that I don't have to do this anymore. Was kind
Right.
of like, I have to build a process. I have to hire someone. I have to get this off my plate.
Right.
And it's kind of the whole premise of the book is structuring a business or structuring your life in a way where it ends up serving you more than you're serving it. You're increasing your bandwidth to do the things that you want to do, be creative, but also have an engine running in the background. So
Right.
you eventually end up becoming lazy because there's nothing for you to do because you've done such a good job at making sure it's all getting done.
Yeah.
So, and that was a fun read for me. There's a lot of cool examples in there. I read it when I was on vacation by a pool, and it was just like it was me in a book.
Yeah, right, right. Speaking
That was my little
speaking of which, probably another question I'll start asking everybody too, because I find it very interesting. It seems like more people are the same as me in this aspect than not, but I thought it was not that way. Do you prefer reading a book, just reading it, no audiobook, no nothing, or do you prefer reading with the audiobook in your ears, sometimes maybe even sped up to where you're able to
have to
read
read it, man.
faster?
I have like such a weird ADD that if I'm reading and listening,
Mhm.
I'll start doing one and not the other, and then I'll keep
Lose
flipping
your
back and
place.
forth. And then if I'm flipping, I'll think of something else, and
Yeah.
then because the recording's going,
Right.
I'll be like, "Man, I have to go back." So,
Yeah.
I have to read, and when I do read, I can't have any distractions.
Right.
So,
I am the
and
same
I
way in that
usually
regard.
my brother, I don't know if he shared this, but he's read so many friggin' books.
Mm-mm.
There's you on YouTube, there's guys that are like, "Man, I read a book a day or a book a week and whatever." Like, he's one of those guys. He has
Right.
piles of books around his desk, friggin'
My God.
piles of books, and there's sticky notes everywhere in them.
I do that
And
too. I
he
always keep
has
all over.
this superpower where he can read a whole book and pull out all the gold because he's read so many and gone through so many, like he knows
Yeah.
where to find what he's looking for. He will get through an entire book, sticky note it all, like so many books, crazy, all business,
That is
SaaS,
skill of its own. People
tech.
underestimate that. It's like
He's super smart, man. He's a wizard.
oh, yeah. I mean, shoot, I was proud of myself because I was never a reader growing up. I managed to get through K through 12. Shouldn't even be proud to say this, and I'm not really. But looking back on it, I got through K through 12 reading, to my memory at least, not counting the little you're just learning how to read books or whatever, actual legitimate books, 1 book all K through 12. And now I'm to the point where I'm reading, in some cases, a book or 2 a week, depending on the time available and size of book, this and that.
Books are underrated. Books are
Yeah.
underrated because the authors that are real true professionals, like, they give you
Yes.
everything. They give you everything. It's like having them coach you
Yes.
a book and you gotta read it and do it, but some people don't like to read, which is fine.
That was why I got started with audiobooks because, like, I still hated reading early on, but I knew I was like, there's so much information in books, though. So that was when Audible started coming out, and every month you get that credit. So I was like, might as well find a book, even if that's the beauty of apps like Audible too, is if you don't like the book, you can trade it in for another credit too. So it's like you really had no excuse, if nothing else, just to listen, build the habit. And a lot of times audiobooks are like podcasts, depending on the type that you're listening to, in terms of, like you said, just how much information they will dump on it, dump in the book, that is. So, yeah, no,
Yeah, Chris, when he would find a book that he was excited about and felt like would help me too, he would buy an additional copy. So for a while, he was buying books and was like, "Hey, I got a new book. Hey, I got a new book." But because he reads so many books,
couldn't keep up.
I was like, I he had a I think he like came to my house and he would see my books and realized that, you know, the spines were perfect still on almost all of them because I have it in a yard. And I really have to be motivated about learning a particular thing. And if that book has that thing, then I'm all in. I want to read it. And I don't like, I try to read as much as I can until I can't read anymore. And then the next day, I want to try to finish.
Right.
So it has
That's
to be
fair.
captivating too. You know, it has to be something I'm really interested in.
Exactly.
Traction isn't one of those books though. Traction is a book. It's like a textbook kind of. You know,
Right.
based on where you are, what you need to work on, you go to that chapter and they walk you through what the thing is and implementing it. And like I said, that's one of those books I keep going back to. So when something's changing or evolving in my company, and like let's say I'm hiring again, I'll go
Mhm.
back to Traction, go back to their hiring stuff, go back to their people stuff, refresh my mind, see if I can look at it differently now with experience, see how I can improve it. And it's just great, great resource. But
100%. Yeah. No.
those were my books.
Yeah, and I ask everybody about the book because, like, their go-to, so to speak, because, like I stress to everybody, like, it's so important. Like, if there's one thing to do, at least in some shape or form, in a habit form, it's reading. It doesn't
Yeah,
always have to
try
be
to
a
learn.
business book or whatever, but, like, put stuff in. I mean, it can be autobiographies,
Even
it's
now,
something thought-provoking still, but, uh
yeah, even now with YouTube, like you can search up how to do anything.
exactly,
So there's no excuse not to level up. You
exactly.
just need to make sure that you're giving yourself time to work on yourself too. You can't be in the field all the time. You can't be
Mhm.
behind the computer all the time.
Yeah.
You need to make time for strategy.
Yeah.
Like this is a game kind of, right? Like so there needs to be a
That's why I
plan.
always ask about the book and
It's
then
like a
the
war game.
outlet in terms of towards the beginning about, those 2 things because, like, to me, they go hand in hand. Like you said, you have to have that's why for me, it's the gym or even if I'm just walking around the neighborhood with a weighted vest on or something like that. Like, that's my quote unquote in my thoughts. That's especially if I forget my headphones, which happens often for whatever reason. I'm forced to just usually my gym doesn't for some reason have speakers or anything going on. So if you don't have music, like it's pretty much silent in there. So like it's just you and your thoughts and like you said, you have to have that room for the creativity. You can't just
Yeah,
always be in the
I'm a
field.
gamer.
Go, 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 go.
Yeah, I'm a gamer too. I forgot to mention that, but
Yeah.
I'll spend time playing games, all sorts of games, first person shooter games, strategy games, puzzle
Right.
games, like, you know, anything that requires you to focus entirely on it. Like it doesn't allow anything else in. When you're focused on the thing, that's the only thing you're
Right.
thinking about. Those are nice because that allows you to detach, yeah, and work your brain in a different way.
Yeah.
So anything that you can find that, you know, you do it
Yep. Yep.
and focus on the thing and it's kind of focused than it is that you have at work.
I'm convinced, like, it's
Or
programming and training muscles in your brain that you just I mean, they say we only utilize, like, 5 to 10% of our brain. I think that, doing a lot of things that most people won't, that's how we I mean, there's gotta be ways that we unlock more than that at the
yeah,
end.
Neuralink, we're gonna have ChatGPT in our brain. We're just gonna
Right.
before we even think the question, we will have the information
Right.
uploaded.
Won't even have to think, it just w wait, almost like a fish or something, just you have a thought and then you're like, "What was I even thinking about? Oh, here, I can fix this now." Yeah. Yeah, no, it's gonna be crazy.
Cool. I hope I was able to provide your viewers with some value.
Oh,
I know you
100%.
don't like to plug your your code, but
Oh, yeah.
you're You can go ahead and do it. So
Yeah. No, of course, if you guys do, which like I said in the stream with in the podcast with Chris the other day, you have no reason not to at least try out GorillaDesk because they don't make you put a card on file. Like there's literally no strings attached. Like both of them
free
is there
trial.
now. Free trial, no contracts, nothing literally tying you down at all. So if you don't like the platform for whatever reason or can't afford it temporarily, whatever the case may be, you can at least still dive in, try it with the pro version on top of that. And the pro version still has lots and lots of good features as well.
And we'll upload your customer data for you to help
Exactly.
expedite you getting, your feet wet in the platform.
Which is heavily underrated.
Our onboarding is awesome.
Oh yeah, that's the whole other
You
thing.
get one-on-one training.
Mhm.
You have access to the library, but you get one-on-one training with a person that helps walk you through stuff. We have a new training module that kind of walks you through step by step how to learn the system, from creating a new account to sending out an invoice to
Right.
all of that stuff. So you can track your own progress through learning,
Right.
the app. And
Yeah, it's I mean, you're not gonna get better overall support or anything, especially while on a free trial. I mean,
yeah,
I don't even know a lot of these CRMs anymore. They don't even offer a free trial, or if they do, there's a bunch of hidden agendas in terms of they get your car on file, they expect you to forget about it. At the minimum, they get a month or two out of you. You don't worry about any of that. Like Girl does let you know whenever that trial's coming up. That way, hey, do you want to continue? If so, let's go ahead and move forward already. And then if not, then okay, like it is what it is either way.
and you'll hear from us again soon, and we're going to ask you again to make sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, just like we do with our customers. Ultimately,
Yeah.
irresponsible not to. Um, yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see. Continue to follow you guys. And then one more time, what was the email for if they want to reach out?
If you want to reach me, you can reach me at Chad at GorillaDesk.com. Chad, CHAD at GorillaDesk.com.
Awesome. Well, yeah, no, Chad, appreciate you hopping on. And like we said, I'm sure it'll be one of many over the coming years.
Yep. You're going to see us again, man.
If there's if there's any questions that you guys have after this goes up, feel free to post it in the comments down below. One, it gives me ideas of maybe little tutorials or whatever that I could do for you guys, or things that, we can reach out to Chad and team about going forward. And
Thanks so much for having me. Thanks so much for taking 2.5 hours out of an evening of working and all that. Like, I really appreciate it. We really appreciate the work that you do.
oh yeah, no, I appreciate you
Speaking
on
so highly of us. No one understands what my brother has gone through to deliver what he's delivering. And, it's nice to see people enjoy the product. It's nice to hear people say good things. So that does lift us up, it keeps us going. So thanks.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, no, I got nothing but good things. I mean, even if I ask of a little tweak or improvement, I mean, it's not ever.
Yeah. I think it's important to make before I get off. I don't know if you want to include this or not, but I think it's important to note that when our users sign up with us, it's a partnership.
Right.
Right? It's not us versus them. And I feel
Exactly.
a lot of sentiment especially in like Facebook world, there's a lot of like us versus the CRM. It's yeah, big guy. But we're here to work with you. We want you to be successful. We want you to grow. We want you to achieve all the stuff we were able to achieve in the service industry. So you know, don't feel that
It's an issue.
like
Thing.
feel like you can reach out to us because we are accessible, right? We want to help you.
And like I tell everybody, I'm like, with Ural's type of model, especially where there's no contracts. I mean, like we said, I mean, almost to the point where you're essentially just giving the software away for free for 2 weeks, essentially. Let's be real. Um, with all that being said, and how you can adjust your plan literally month to month practically.
Make it easy. We're trying to
You all literally do better when we do better because you're obviously the more text you get, then you're what you're paying GorillaDesk is going up. And from what I even noticed, that amount starts to even drop a little bit as you start to scale it too on top of that. But either way, like everybody's doing better together ultimately.
Yeah.
So where other platforms, it's like, a company that's doing 100 grand is, a lot of times being charged the same amount as a company doing close to 500 grand, even though, there's more techs and this and that. Like,
And everyone gets really great support. Whether you're a solo dude or you're an enterprise, you're
exactly,
gonna get helped. If you have a problem, we're gonna help you. We're gonna work with you. No matter your size, it doesn't matter. We care about everyone equally.
exactly.
So come to us if you need anything. You know, we're here to help you. We want to see you succeed. My brother's packed in so much value.
Oh,
And yeah, hasn't raised prices in forever because he doesn't really need to.
right.
Yeah, he doesn't need to.
Yeah, he hit on that, for a couple minutes as well the other
We
day.
want to make it a no-brainer. We want you to try it and be like, "Of course, like, sign me up." That's the
Exactly.
goal. We have
Why
everything.
didn't I find it sooner? Exactly. And like I said, guys, let us know in the comments, what, of course, one, just like you said, feedback, and any questions, any follow up, whatever the case may be. You all know I try to be in the responses of the comments as much as possible. And then I'm sure we'll have many follow ups over the months and years ahead to come.
Yeah, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe,
Most
make sure you
definitely.
share, you know,
Yes, that's the only
don't
fee is sharing it with
you wanna
anybody
grow
you
this
know can
channel.
benefit from it.
Let's grow
100%.
your channel. Cool.
Awesome. I appreciate it, man,
Alright,
and
brother.
we'll be in touch.
Alright, be good.